Chapter 76. The next day, the sun was shining and the air was fresh. Susan went out early in the morning to buy daily necessities and would not be back until noon. Lin Feng did not go with her, and stayed at home alone. He placed a lounge chair next to the villa's swimming pool and basked in the sun leisurely. Lin Feng plans to set off after this weekend to get his Silver Superman template back and evolve into Silver Superman. As for this weekend, just enjoy your vacation. Suffering from procrastination, Lin Feng didn't want to move at all. Xianyu's plans began to take shape, but some people were unwilling to let him have a peaceful holiday. Behind the huge villa, a sneaky figure of a dog suddenly appeared. The sneaky figure of the dog is amazingly big. At the moment, it is crouching and approaching the villa cautiously. There was a cautious look on his little face, and his little head constantly looked around, constantly exploring the terrain of the villa. It was Wanda who came to carry out the mission. When Wanda found out that the target was Superman who appeared on TV from time to time, she was devastated. But Baron Strucker fooled Wanda and promised her that he would enhance her super ability after she got the thing. And will help her get revenge against Iron Man Tony Stark. This made Wanda grit her teeth and decide to give it a try. What if that Superman has no resistance to his own ability? Wouldn't that be a happy ending for everyone? How can I put it? I can only say that a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. But Wanda was too naive. Even though she attached great importance to Lin Feng's strength and even though she walked very carefully, she still could not escape Lin Feng's eyes. Lin Feng, who was basking in the sun, suddenly frowned and his tightly closed eyes slowly opened a crack. I could hear the sound of footsteps, the sound of shoes rubbing against the grass. Very slight. If it weren't for Superman's ability, Raymond Lam wouldn't have heard this voice. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, Lin Feng did not get up to check immediately. He squinted his eyes, turned his head slightly, and glanced towards the place where the sound came from with his peripheral vision. Looking at the figure, it was a woman, sneaking towards him from behind. Is it the neighbor next door? As soon as the thought came up, it was denied by Lin Feng. This figure looks sneaky and doesn't seem to be holding back on anything good. When he moved his gaze to the figure's face, he was stunned for a moment, and then his expression became extremely wonderful. Lin Feng exclaimed in his heart, "Wow, I must have seen it wrong. Isn't this Scarlet Witch, Wanda player? Why did you end up in your own backyard? He looks like a sneaky dog. He is not a good person. Is it possible that she is short of money and has given up being Scarlet Witch and has started doing sneaky things?" Lin Feng was confused and couldn't help but recall the plot about Wanda. He has watched quite a few Marvel movies and has some understanding of Wanda. According to the original plot, at the moment Wanda and her brother Pietro should belong to Hydra's Eastern European base, Baron Strucker. In the original book, Strucker used the Mind Gem to activate and strengthen the twin siblings' abilities. However, Lin Feng has never figured out whether Mind Gem stimulates or grants ability. Before traveling through time, he searched various forums for a long time in order to understand this information, but to no avail. Now because of his appearance, Hydra did not get the Mind Gem like in the original story. A light bulb suddenly lit up in Lin Feng's mind, and he understood something. Could it be that Wanda was sent to steal her Mind Gem? However, without the Mind Gem to enhance Wanda's abilities, her combat power should be very low. If Hydra wanted the Mind Gem, why didn't they send in stronger, more experienced combatants? Lin Feng, who was confused, just lay there motionless. He looked to see what tricks Wanda was going to play. Lin Feng was not at all panicked when he could easily grasp the big bear. As for Wanda, she tiptoed and quietly moved to the side of the swimming pool. Her eyes were always on Lin Feng and she dared not move away. She was afraid that Superman would find her and jump up and punch her. Then she sent it. Looking at Lin Feng, who was lying on the beach chair leisurely like an old man, he seemed to be asleep. Wanda breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that she had successfully invaded, and she was a little excited. She would brag about it to Pietro when she got back. When she got closer to Lin Feng, she had already seen the shiny yellow gem on Lin Feng's left wrist, which was the target of her mission. Wanda suppressed her excitement and slowly approached Lin Feng. She wanted to use her super ability to make Lin Feng sleep more deeply, as a guarantee for her next action. Wanda's eyes sparkled with excitement, and her heart started beating fast. She quietly stretched out her hands and gestured behind Lin Feng's head through the void. Red energy, so light it was almost transparent, slowly flowed out with the movement. This action was extremely funny. Raymond Lam turned his head slightly and watched Wanda performing as if she was a mentally retarded person. It took a long time, so long that Raymond Lam was almost falling asleep, before Wanda finished her preparations. She stretched her hands forward and the energy slowly attacked Lin Feng. Lin Feng suddenly felt a pitifully weak breath attacking his brain. He was speechless. The force was not even enough to tickle him. But Wanda didn't know this, she was still constantly dancing with her hands. Because ability was very weak, beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. The red energy brings about hypnotic ability and guides fear in the recipient's heart. This made Lin Feng feel as if there was a weak force trying to pull out the memories in his mind. He thought of the scene in the original book where Wanda used her ability to make Tony see it. I couldn't help but smile and decided to tease this fool. The mind gem glowed faintly, but Wanda didn't notice it. Raymond Lam deliberately adjusted some scenes to match Wanda's behavior. After some hesitation, Raymond Lam selected a few scenes, starting with the scorching sun to whet his appetite. With a thought, the black scene in front of Lin Feng suddenly changed. The scenes of their past experiences pulled the two of them in as if they were reality. As soon as the scene changed, Wanda opened her eyes wide and her mouth couldn't help but open. Huge amounts of fixed star appeared in front of them. The surface of the fixed star is constantly rolling like magma, exploding constantly and spewing plasma outward. The fixed star was so close that its scorching aura instantly engulfed the two of them. That is, the Sunday. Wanda opened her mouth. She felt like a steak on a frying pan, enduring the scorching heat. In an instant, she was sweating profusely and was shocked by the scene before her, as if her computer had crashed. The dazzling light of the sun made her close her eyes involuntarily. She couldn't help but exclaim in her heart, "This is Superman's experience." Chapter 77. The scene before her shocked contestant Wanda. Lin Feng watched Wanda's actions from the corner of his eye and chuckled. The Sun Grandpa was just an appetizer. Next, let me show you some alien creatures. Lin Feng adjusted his face again, and the scene in front of him changed again. The dazzling light disappeared in an instant. Wanda opened her eyes when she felt it darken in front of her eyes. The sun has disappeared. At the moment they were on the battlefield. It's like pressing the play button on a paused movie. The deafening shouts instantly drowned out the two of them. The shouts and the collision of metal and iron reached the sky. Countless Avengers in various costumes and strange alien species collided on the battlefield. Wanda had never seen such a weird appearance before. Artillery fire roared, slogans flew, and the entire battlefield was filled with smoke and blood and tears. The pungent smell of burning and blood went straight into Wanda's brain through her nostrils. Wanda, who hadn't yet recovered from the shock of the sun, was once again stunned by the scene before her. Her eyes widened, as Superman's experience was completely beyond her imagination. The war that was so close to her made her feel terrified, and her body began to tremble involuntarily. The cosmic war that once existed only in science fiction movies and novels to her was now unfolding before her. She couldn't believe it. There really are alien creatures. A mechanical shape-shifting hum came from the air, attracting Wanda's attention. She subconsciously turned her stiff neck and looked up into the air dully. A huge alien spaceship. Floating high in the sky. With a series of noises, the side plates of the spacecraft opened. Then, shells whizzed down from the sky like a curtain of rain and hit the ground directly. Boom! Bang! Shells landed one after another, and explosions like a sweeping ground occurred in front of Wanda's eyes, setting off hurricanes. The debris from the explosion brushed past her face. Wanda screamed and dodged hastily. Her breathing was rapid and she even forgot for a moment that this was just an illusion. The indiscriminate artillery attacks instantly scattered the ground troops and dyed the entire battlefield dark red. Before my eyes, blood flowed like a river. The wailing echoes in my ears. The scene stimulated Wanda's brain, and she kept backing away in horror. The war was not over yet, but Lin Feng in front of him suddenly made a move. His eye sockets began to turn red rapidly, and a heart-pounding energy gathered in his eyes. As if the power accumulation was finished, Lin Feng's eyes burst out with an orange-red laser, rushing straight towards the spaceship in the sky. Boom! The orange-red laser penetrated the spacecraft the moment it made contact. Under the sweep of the laser, the aerial fortress that seemed indestructible in Wanda's eyes was as fragile as a piece of paper and was cut directly in half. Explosions continued to occur at the cracks in the spacecraft, with billowing black smoke. The two halves of the spacecraft slammed heavily in front of Wanda. With the sound of doon, the hurricane seemed to lift Wanda up. This blow seemed to hit Wanda directly in the heart, causing her to tremble even more violently and scream out in shock. She now deeply regrets coming to carry out this mission. The images that Raymond Lamb brought to her were too shocking. The sun, the universe, spaceships, war, blood, and alien creatures. These existences constantly overturn Wanda's cognition and world outlook. And her mission target was even more terrifying, with devastating lasers appearing in his eyes. Is he still human? Not to mention fists. If Lin Feng fired a laser at her, she could say goodbye to Pietro. Wanda felt that she could not bear it anymore, and she pulled her hands back with shaking hands, trying to stop the illusion. She wanted to escape quickly before Lin Feng woke up. Stay as far away from Lin Feng as possible. She never wanted to see Lin Feng again in her life. When Lin Feng woke up, she was afraid that her life would be in danger. Superman, so scary. However, before Wanda could retract her ability, a huge monster attacked from the sky, which made her slightly stunned and she failed to disconnect the ability in her hand in time. An alien monster of extremely huge amounts of size, covered with angular, spiked metal armor, flew towards her while roaring. Wanda was suddenly terrified, her pupils trembling constantly with fear. She staggered back 2 steps, tripped over her left foot and fell to the ground. The giant beast opened its bloody mouth, revealing countless barbs and fangs. A fishy smell rushed towards Wanda, and it swallowed Wanda whole in one gulp. Ah! Wanda screamed as she watched the huge amounts of spikes pierce through her body. There was a sudden sharp pain in her body, and the hurt seemed to be real, stimulating Wanda. The brain shuts down again out of protectiveness. The scenes that followed made her eyes roll back with a click and she passed out. It was too exciting. Wanda didn't want to see this kind of scene again in her life. Wanda fainted, her whole body limp and fell backwards. With a splash, it fell into the swimming pool. Fortunately, there was water in the swimming pool, otherwise I would have fallen and got a bloody head. The scene ended, Lin Feng stood up and stretched lazily with a feeling of unsatisfied feeling. I have to say, Wanda's ability is really useful. My own experiences can be presented in an extremely clear picture, which is much more exciting than any 5D or 8D movie. After thinking about it for a while, Lin Feng looked towards the swimming pool, seeming a little speechless. Wanda didn't wake up after falling into the swimming pool, but gradually sank to the bottom, still spitting bubbles. That's all? He has more exciting scenes that he hasn't released yet. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and could only jump down to fish it out. I flew up holding Wanda, and my arms felt light. Lin Feng unconsciously glanced at the majestic big bear. This child doesn't look like he's lacking in nutrition, so why is he so light? I really want to study. After carrying Wanda back to the villa, Raymond Lamb hesitated for a moment, but still threw her on the sofa. I originally wanted to throw her to the ground and be done with it, but Wanda is a girl after all, and Raymond Lamb has always been more preferential to pretty girls. After falling into the water, Wanda was soaked all over. The soaked clothes stuck tightly to her skin, making her proud big bear even more conspicuous. Lin Feng looked at his nose with his eyes and his heart with his nose, and kept repeating to himself, don't look at what is inappropriate, don't look at what is inappropriate. Within 2 seconds, Lin Feng's eyes couldn't help but glance upwards. This guy chuckled and suddenly thought, should he change Wanda's clothes? I'm soaked all over. It would be bad if I caught a cold. Isn't that how it's played out in TV dramas? But after thinking for a long time, Lin Feng decided to forget it. Don't ask why. God wants me to be a gentleman. But fortunately, Raymond Lamb did not do anything. Just as he was struggling internally, Susan came back with a lot of things. God knows how lucky Raymond Lamb was at that moment. However, when Susan saw the wet bear on the sofa, her face suddenly became wonderful. Forest. Susan pointed at Xiongda on the sofa and looked at Lin Feng in amazement. There was a mixture of 3 parts complexity, 3 parts suspicion, 3 parts disbelief, and 1 part of astonishment in his eyes. That expression seemed to be questioning Lin Feng. Have you finally become an ancestor? Chapter 78. Looking at Susan's expression, Lin Feng rolled his eyes speechlessly. He took the items Susan had purchased and put them aside, explaining, this is just a little thief who came to our house. Don't think too much about it. Susan tilted her head with a puzzled look on her face, obviously not believing what Lin Feng said. Will Miss Big Bear come to be a thief? Raymond Lamb definitely knew what she was thinking. He raised his left hand and shook his wristband. Her goal is most likely this. This little girl comes from an old evil organization. You know what I am like, don't you? Susan nodded, not quite understanding. She also didn't believe that Lin Feng would do such a thing as kidnapping a decent woman. In fact, if you think about it carefully, if Lin Feng wanted to do something bad, as long as he wanted, he would never let Susan know. Superman's strength is unquestionable. Besides, she knew Raymond Lam's character very well, and her Xiangda was no worse than that of this little girl. After thinking for a while, Susan asked, "Should we call the police?" Lin Feng shook his head decisively, "No need, let me wake her up and ask her carefully. The Twister authorities can't do anything about this. After all, Wanda is not an ordinary person, and they can't deal with Hydra. It would be better to hand it over to S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if that black-boiled egg has any results from his investigation into Hydra." A few days ago, Lin Feng was still wondering when to find Wanda. "But today, I ended up sending myself to you and asking for money. As for Wanda, Raymond Lam wants to use her for his own benefit and will definitely not let her be an Avenger like in the original novel. Now, he should ask Wanda first to see if things are as he expected." Thinking of this, Lin Feng pointed at Wanda, and the mind gem lit up. An orange ray penetrated into Wanda's head, and she woke up slowly. Wanda woke up and her computer was offline for 2 seconds, staring blankly at the scene in front of her. When she saw Lin Feng, she screamed and ran to the corner of the sofa, looking at Lin Feng as if she had seen something terrible. Apparently he remembered the extremely exciting scene just now. Susan's eyes changed again as she looked at Lin Feng, becoming curious and scrutinizing. What on earth did this big boy do to make the little girl so scared of him? Lin Feng looked at Susan helplessly with an innocent expression. "I really didn't do anything." After giving Susan a look and letting her experience it herself, Lin Feng turned his attention to Wanda. "Wanda. Django. Maximove." Lin Feng directly said Wanda's name, catching Wanda off guard. As expected, Wanda was startled when she heard Lin Feng calling out her name directly. "How do you know?" Lin Feng chuckled and said, "That's because I've seen your movie." Ignoring Wanda's doubts, Lin Feng continued, "I also know that you have a brother named Pietro." "How do you know?" Wanda exclaimed again. "Are you a repeater?" Raymond Lam patted the sofa and sat down. Wanda shrank back in fear, as if she was afraid that Raymond Lam would hurt her. Lin Feng's expression was somewhat playful. "Hey? Why don't you use those little tricks of yours?" As he spoke, Raymond Lam also imitated Wanda's wrist dance. Was the movie just now exciting? Her ability was exposed, and Wanda blushed and lowered her head in shame. How can Superman have such a bad taste? Lin Feng didn't care what Wanda thought. He leaned back and crossed his legs. "Come on, tell me what you are doing here." Lin Feng had made a lot of guesses about Wanda's purpose of coming, and now it all depended on whether Wanda's answer matched. Apart from the mind gem, Raymond Lam couldn't think of any other reason why Wanda came. Hearing Lin Feng's question, Wanda, who had lowered her head, rolled her eyes and relaxed her nervousness. She raised her head and tried to look as innocent as possible. "I'm so sorry. I went to the wrong place, can you let me go?" "Raymond Lam?" The look he gave Wanda was full of pity for a mentally retarded person. Wanda seemed to realize that her excuse was full of loopholes. Raymond Lam had just called out her name. She obviously didn't believe this ridiculous excuse. Seeing Lin Feng's caring eyes for the mentally retarded, Wanda responded with a somewhat awkward smile. "Do you think I'm a fool? Contestant Wanda. I even called out your name. Do you think I would believe that you came to the wrong door?" Raymond Lam touched his chin. "Don't try to be clever in front of Superman, Wanda." Wanda shrank her neck, lowered her head and said nothing. Seeing that she didn't say anything, Lin Feng directly threw out a royal bomb. "Even if you don't say anything, I probably know why you're here. Baron Strucker sent you here." Hearing this, Wanda's pupils shrank and her heart began to beat fast. "How did you know?" "Good guy, I'm back to being a parrot again." Lin Feng smacked his lips. It was exactly as he had guessed. "Superman knows much more than you think," Lin Feng said, pointing to the yellow gem on his wrist. Then his expression became serious, and he released a little momentum and exerted it on Wanda. "This is the goal. Don't try to lie to me again. As Superman, I have countless ways to get the truth." Lin Feng's aura is not something Wanda can bear now, even if it's just a little bit. The information Superman knew was completely beyond Wanda's expectations. The facts once again prove how powerful and tricky Superman is. She already knew that there was no way she could get the upper hand over Superman. Why bother struggling for that 1 in a billion chance? Wanda feels like she is just a small dish now, the kind that was delivered to her doorstep. Beads of sweat appeared on her forehead, and Superman's aura made her heart beat uncontrollably faster. Yes, yes. Under the pressure, Wanda felt a little difficult to breathe, and admitted it reluctantly. Hearing this, Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction. Tell me in detail. I said, can you let me go? Wanda asked cautiously. Lin Feng smacked his lips. Tell me first, if you are not lying, I can consider letting you go. Let Wanda go? Raymond Lam had no such intention. He planned to recruit Wanda for his own use. After all, with the blessing of origin magic power, even Thanos cannot defeat Wanda, who is still a little girl. Even when the ability reaches a certain level, it can alter reality. It's simply a cheating level existence. Okay. I only know some information. Recently, many of our bases have been attacked. It seems that it was an organization called S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh yeah. And the Avengers. It seems that Stark needs your gem to improve the progress of the experiment. Wanda obediently told him everything she knew. She knew very little about S.H.I.E.L.D. and only heard a few words from Stark's unintentional conversations with others. As for the Avengers who once made TV news and newspaper headlines, Wanda is familiar with them. Oh? Hearing this, Lin Feng's heart moved. Black braised egg finally made a move? Although it's a bit slow, it's better than finding nothing. From this point of view, it makes sense that Baron Strucker felt threatened and wanted to obtain the mind gem for experiments. Wanda continued to speak. Strucker promised to enhance my ability after getting the gem. You can help me get revenge. After hesitating for a moment, Wanda still said this. Revenge. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. Is it Tony Stark? Wanda nodded silently. She was no longer surprised that Raymond knew everything. This Superman seems to know everything. Chapter 79. Looking at Wanda's expression, Lin Feng nodded. This was exactly the effect he wanted, to give Wanda a feeling of knowing everything. Wanda and Pietro had a rather miserable childhood. The dud bullet with the Stark logo on it completely became a childhood trauma for the twins. But the reality was not as the twins thought. The missile came from a KB attack and was aimed at the twins' neighbors. The missile was not sold by Tony, but was the work of Obadiah's men who had been killed by Lin Feng with a punch. Wanda and Pietro are not bad people by nature, otherwise they would not have joined the Avengers' plan later. For these two twins with extraordinary abilities and good natures, it is most appropriate to recruit them for your own use. It was just that he had originally planned to look for the two after evolving into Silver Superman, but he didn't expect Wanda to come to him. Thinking of this, Lin Feng slowly said, things are actually very different from what you imagined. He planned to lay the groundwork for Wanda to reveal some of the truth and gradually pull Wanda into his camp. Forcing Wanda to work for him is not what Raymond Lam wants to see, and Wanda will not really work for him. In the following time, Lin Feng's words completely overturned Wanda's cognition over the years. He threw out everything about Hydra's origin, its goal of controlling the world, and the Stark missile. When it comes to the key points, some of the origins of the Chitauri and some threats in the universe are mixed in to achieve a shocking effect. Lin Feng was spitting all over the place, and the little girl was stunned. This world, or rather the universe, is far more complicated than she had imagined. She didn't want to believe what Lin Feng said, but her intuition told her that it was all true. Raymond Lam is the highly anticipated Superman, so there is no reason for him to lie to himself about being a member of an obscure organization. There is nothing on me that is worth coveting. If Raymond Lam knew Wanda was thinking this, he would definitely jump out and shout, why not? As they were talking, Susan came over with 2 cups of hot cocoa. She went to make 2 cups of hot cocoa while the two began talking. This little girl didn't look like a bad person. Judging from what Lin Feng said, it is obvious that there is a high possibility that he was misled by bad people. And her big boy obviously scared the little girl. Hot cocoa can ease the little girl's mood. This is how Lin Feng used to ease her fear. Thanks. Wanda took the hot cocoa blankly and drank it in small sips, her brain constantly digesting the information that Lin Feng said. He has been holding a grudge against Tony Stark for more than 10 years, but his enemy is not him. This goes against her goal for more than a decade and it won't be resolved all at once. Wanda needs time. Lin Feng patted the sofa beside him and motioned Susan to sit down and listen together. I know that you and Pietro are not inherently bad people, you are just misled. Hydra is not suitable for you. It is destined to be destroyed. Raymond Lam drank hot cocoa and guided Wanda step by step. If you want, I can arrange a place for you and Pietro, and I will also help you improve your abilities. And my use of gems will be safer and more efficient than Stark's. Definitely, I didn't improve your abilities to ask for your revenge. Tony is my friend, but what I just told you was not a lie. You are free to verify what I said. I guarantee it with the reputation of Superman. Wanda's heart was moved by these words. Lin Feng's words are not groundless. His position and voice in the hearts of the citizens are even much higher than those of the Avengers. The main credit comes from Raymond Lam, who constantly solves the disasters that occur. In the battle with the Chitauri, Lin Feng directly rushed out of outer space and shot down the Chitauri mothership. Lin Feng's strength and actions have won the support of the people. To put it bluntly, Lin Feng's credibility is endorsed by all the citizens of Twisted Yaok. Seeing Wanda was interested, Raymond Lam immediately revealed some shocking information. I think you just saw what I went through, right? As soon as these words were spoken, Wanda's fear was aroused again, and her eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Those scenes seemed too bizarre to Wanda. She swallowed and said, "Those scenes, are they all real?" Lin Feng nodded, "Yes, those are what I have experienced." What a real experience! In the universe, there are too many species that we have never seen, and there are countless threats that we are not aware of. Isn't the Chitauri invasion a good proof of this? Hearing Lin Feng say this, Wanda nodded subconsciously. Almost everyone knew about the Chitauri invasion. After all, something as sci-fi as an alien invasion is so unforgettable when it actually happens. Seeing that the groundwork was almost complete, Lin Feng tactfully guided the discussion to the point of expressing his own ideas. Blue Planet will also experience these dangers, or similar dangers, in the future. I will improve your ability. Maybe you can fight alongside me in the future to repel these invaders. I don't think you want to see countless families torn apart and destroyed because of war, right? Lin Feng is not exaggerating. Although he can deal with Thanos, he cannot guarantee that the plot will be exactly the same as the original and there will be no threats from other powerful beings in the universe. These words touched Wanda's heart. She has a kind heart, but the despair she experienced in her childhood is shocking. She also doesn't want to see other innocent people go through this. These words were like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Lin Feng's meaning is very clear. Although you have experienced misfortune, you can help others avoid repeating the misfortune. Can I? Think about it. The large amount of information received at once made Wanda's mind a little confused. Although she was excited, she also needed to calm down. Lin Feng nodded, "No problem." Wanda's personality determines that she will not reject Raymond Lam's proposal. Lin Feng patted Susan, who was sitting next to him, and said, "Susan, take her upstairs to take a hot bath. Otherwise she will catch a cold." Susan came back to her senses and nodded. Pulling up Wanda, who was still looking down in thought, the two walked towards the second floor. Susan understood most of what the two said. I also understood that Wanda was so scared because she saw what Lin Feng experienced. Lin Feng had never told her about these experiences, the aliens, the battles, Hydra, and the disasters about the future. I guess he's afraid of worrying himself, so he doesn't want to talk about it. She recalled Lin Feng's 2 trips out, and those experiences should have happened during this period. Suddenly, Susan felt sorry for Lin Feng. Other people of his age are enjoying life, going to nightclubs, parties, and racing. However, Lin Feng experienced battles one after another that ordinary people would not even dare to think about. Fortunately, her boyfriend is strong enough to deal with any difficulties she thinks. Although she didn't know what outstanding abilities Wanda had that Lin Feng mentioned, Susan decided to persuade Wanda while taking a bath. After the conversation, she also realized that Wanda seemed to be misled by some bad people, otherwise Raymond Lam would not have wasted so much time and effort to enlighten Wanda. Look at those bad guys in the past. Lin Feng wouldn't even say a word to them and just punched them to death. Seeing the two of them go upstairs, Lin Feng touched his chin. Susan's mood was a little off, probably because of what he said. Susan must have a lot of doubts. However, during their conversation, his girlfriend never interrupted them once, which made Raymond very happy and lucky. My little girlfriend is very sensible. Chapter 80. Sitting on the sofa, Lin Feng pondered for a while, then suddenly took out his cell phone and dialed a number. It is almost certain that Wanda will join his camp. Now he needs some evidence to act as a catalyst to make Wanda join his camp quickly. After all, he will soon set out on another journey into the universe, which may take 2 months at the shortest and half a year at the longest. On the aerospace carrier, Nick Fury took out his communicator and looked at the incoming call. Raymond Lam? There was some confusion in Du Yan's eyes. This was the first time that Lin Feng contacted him since he gave him his contact information. Lin Feng. Nick Fury answered the phone. Hi. Chief Lu Dan. Nick Fury's face darkened instantly. What's the matter? Nick Fury simply ignored Lin Feng's affectionate name for him. I need some video of Hydra. Video evidence of them doing bad things. I know you have it, send it to my email, I want to use it. Nick Fury narrowed his one eye, what do you want this for? He did not deny that he had this information. We are all smart people. The fact that Lin Feng could call him proves that Lin Feng is sure that he has this information. Instead of arguing with each other, it's better to speak directly. How about recruiting 2 superheroes? Oh? Can you tell me in detail? Nick Fury raised his eyebrows and became interested. It's too much trouble to explain. How about you send me some videos and then give you a superhero? Raymond Lam's words made Nick Fury narrow his eye again. Could Raymond Lam be so kind? Make a deal. Nick Fury hung up the phone, constantly analyzing Lin Feng's intentions. Some of Hydra's criminal activities weren't exactly secret, at least not among superheroes. If Lin Feng wants it, then give it to him. It won't be a loss for S.H.I.E.L.D., right? It's a give and take thing. If Lin Feng asked for something this time, next time you ask for help, Lin Feng will most likely not refuse. This is the world of adults. S.H.I.E.L.D. needs Lin Feng's kindness. As for what Raymond Lam said about giving him a superhero, Nick Fury is on guard and will wait and see what Lin Feng is up to. After pressing the intercom, Hill, dressed in a black uniform, walked in a few moments later. Director. Yet. Black Braised Egg nodded. Send some information about Hydra to Lin Feng's email. Also, check what Lin Feng has done in the past 2 days since he came back. Yes. Hill nodded and went down. She did not ask Nick Fury the reason. There was no need. She just followed the order. S.H.I.E.L.D. is very efficient. In just 2 minutes, Lin Feng's mailbox was filled with a lot of information. Lin Feng opened the information and started browsing it. He was going to show it to Wanda, who had just finished taking a shower. Although this information is optional, it will not have any impact on Wanda joining his camp. It's just that Raymond Lam plans to assign Quicksilver to S.H.I.E.L.D. If he rashly assigns a superhero to Lu Dan might think too much and think that Raymond Lam has some conspiracy. Asking Nick Fury for this information, in addition to giving an explanation to Wanda, can also legitimately repay a favor as a superhero to S.H.I.E.L.D. As for Wanda, Raymond Lam plans to keep her in his home and live with Susan, so that Susan's safety factor will be raised to a higher level. This phone call arranged for Wanda's brother to be found and indirectly sold a superhero to S.H.I.E.L.D. If you really think about it, S.H.I.E.L.D. owed Raymond Lam a favor. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Raymond Lam couldn't help but give himself a thumbs up. As for what Black Braised Egg thinks, Lin Feng doesn't care. When Lu Dan sees Quicksilver's ability, he will make the right choice, unless he has a problem with his brain. While browsing, Susan had already come down with Wanda, who had just taken a bath. Wanda was wearing Susan's casual clothes. Her bear-sized clothes were about the same size as Susan's, so she didn't look too crowded. She sat on the sofa with an embarrassed look on her face. Although she had already made up her mind to submit to Lin Feng, she felt that she should discuss it with her brother. Lin Feng noticed Wanda's expression and without saying anything, he pushed the notebook in front of Wanda and opened the Hydra information. Come, take a look at the information about Hydra that you and your brother joined. The missiles and attacks you saw when you were young were caused by organizations similar to theirs. Human experiments, organizing bombings, artillery trading, whatever bad things there are to do. These are the facts, documents, and video material that are before us. Wanda looked at the information with a complicated expression, but she was a little absent-minded. Just as Lin Feng thought, Wanda had already made up her mind. In her opinion, these documents were not very important bargaining chips. Lin Feng didn't care and didn't urge him. He was confident in controlling this big bear. After a long while, Wanda sighed softly after reading the information. Okay, I am willing to believe some of the information you said, and I am willing to fight alongside you. But you have to do what you said. Help us improve our ability. Also, I want to personally verify whether the missile was sold by Tony Stark. After agreeing, Wanda suddenly felt relieved, as if something heavy had been put down. Raymond Lamb was not surprised by Wanda's answer. Wanda is kind and not stupid. Even a fool would know which to choose between Superman and the evil organization. With a smile on his face, he stood up and stretched out his right hand. Welcome to the good side, Wanda. Wanda stared at the big hand that was extended to her in a daze, then chuckled and shook it. Now that it's decided. Then without further delay, I'll go get your brother and meet Baron Strucker. As he spoke, Lin Feng took out a map from somewhere. Although he is usually lazy and even a bit lazy, Raymond Lamb is an impatient and action-oriented person. Once you decide on something, you have to do it immediately, otherwise Lin Feng will always be worried about it. Show me their address, Wanda. Wanda nodded, observed it for a while, and pointed her finger at a certain place on the map. She has no sense of belonging to Hydra and joined only to gain power so that she can take revenge. Lin Feng's information made her see an ugly side that she had never seen before. His brother was still in the organization, so it was best for Lin Feng to take the initiative and take him over. As for what Lin Feng was going to do to Baron Strucker and the Hydra base, Wanda roughly knew it, but she felt no psychological pressure at all. Lin Feng looked carefully at the location Wanda pointed to, and it was indeed somewhere in Eastern Europe. After noting down the coordinates, Lin Feng put away the map. After all this trouble and conversation, it was getting dark. Wanda's joining made Raymond Lamb very happy. Susan, could you make dinner a little more hearty? I think we have a guest. Susan listened to the entire conversation between the two and naturally knew who Lin Feng was talking about. She immediately responded with a smile, definitely. I'll go get ready now. Okay. Lin Feng said with a smile, then I'll go pick up another guest. After saying that, Lin Feng's mind moved, and a deep blue portal appeared behind him. Chapter 81. Eastern Europe, Hydra Fortress. Baron Strucker sat at the table, waiting for Wanda's news with a little anxiety. It had been a day and a half since Wanda started her mission, and he wished he could hear some good news. However, since noon today, Wanda's communicator has lost signal. According to intelligence, the fortress where he was located had been exposed to shield sight. The technology and defense strength of this Hydra fortress are among the best among all bases. Although the Avengers haven't come knocking on their door yet, the situation isn't optimistic. SHIELD must be working on a detailed attack plan. Stark knew very well that he would be killed if he stuck his head out, and he would be killed if he hid his head. Even if you don't provoke Superman, the Avengers will constantly come to you. His men can't defeat the Avengers with various abilities. With the Mind Gem, Strucker has leverage. Without the Mind Gem, all you can do is move on or wait for destruction. As time passed, Stark became more and more irritated. However, this irritability did not last long. Just when Strucker wanted to try to contact Wanda again, a blue portal appeared in front of him. Alert! The Hydra soldiers on guard shouted the moment the portal appeared. A heavily armed team quickly rushed into the room, aiming their guns at the portal. The researchers in the room were so terrified that they didn't know what to do and all retreated to the corner. The blue portal flowed like a curtain of water, and a figure slowly walked out from behind the portal. When he saw the figure clearly, Stark's expression gradually disappeared. When Wanda lost contact, he was already mentally prepared, but before the dust settled, he still held on to a glimmer of hope. The appearance of this figure also means that he basically has no chance. The portal disappeared, and Lin Feng had arrived at the Hydra fortress in Eastern Europe. When he looked up, he saw dozens of guns pointed at him. Wow, such a big welcome! Da-da-da-da-da! Lin Feng was met with bullets, and smoke filled the room. Flames were spewing from the muzzles of the guns. The unarmed researchers were so frightened that they squatted in the corner with their heads in their hands, trembling. The attack wasn't even a tickle, which made Lin Feng speechless. Haven't these idiots read their own news? Bullets can't even hurt their own hair. However, although it does not cause any harm to myself, the overwhelming bullets are still quite annoying. Lin Feng raised his left hand. Bang! With a snap of his fingers, a circle of pale yellow shock waves spread out from the fortress. The gunfire stopped suddenly. All Hydra members who were touched by the shockwave lost consciousness in an instant and collapsed to the ground. The entire fortress stopped working instantly and became extremely quiet, with only the sound of electric current from the machines running. Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction. This is his newly researched use of gemstones. Using the characteristics of the mind gem to output energy creates shock waves that can knock these cannon fodders unconscious in an instant. This is much faster than Loki poking them one by one with the scepter. This skill makes up for Lin Feng's lack of group attack skills. As the file size of the energy output increases, the power of the shock wave will increase from causing people to faint to directly shattering everything it touches. It is very useful for clearing out cannon fodder soldiers. I saw a bald man lying not far from me. Lin Feng stepped forward and flipped him over with his toes. Monocle, is that a tattoo at the corner of the eye? He looks exactly like the Baron Strucker that Raymond Lam saw in the movie. After thinking about it, Lin Feng picked up his phone and called Hey Lu Dan. Hey! Mr. Boiled Egg? I took down the Hydra base in Eastern Europe for you. That's right, it's the Hydra base you were thinking of. No need to thank me, just send someone to clean up the mess. After saying a few words, Lin Feng, who was annoyed, hung up the phone directly without giving Hey Lu Dan a chance to ask questions. Done. Black Salted Egg, who received the call, was holding a meeting with Natasha Romanoff and Steve in a conference room. The content of the meeting was about the operations of the Hydra fortress in Eastern Europe. However, not long after the meeting started, Lin Feng called, said a few words and hung up. This made Hai Ludan's blood pressure rise a little, and he couldn't help but curse Ms. Fok. Chief. Hill pushed the door open and walked in with a serious expression. She handed over a tablet with a satellite image of the Hydra fortress in Eastern Europe on it. After discovering the Hydra fortress, Nick Fury ordered it to be monitored at all times. The fact that Hill rushed in and interrupted the meeting must have meant that there was a serious problem. Just a minute ago, all the Hydra members outside the base suddenly fainted on the ground. Passed out at the same time. Hill emphasized. Hey Lu Dan looked at the content of the picture, then looked at the mobile phone which he had not put down in time. His heart suddenly moved, and he instantly understood the specific meaning of Lin Feng's two sentences. Although he was a little speechless, Lin Feng seemed to have solved this big problem. After thinking for a moment, Lu Dan knocked on the table and ordered directly, Steve, lead the team directly to the Eastern European base. Bring back all the important people in the base. Steve was a little confused. Don't we need to discuss this? Doesn't the data show that the defense force of this Hydra base in Eastern Europe is very strong? Black Egg pushed the tablet Hill brought to Steve. No need for any plans, Captain. Superman has taken over this Hydra nest. After thinking for a while, Lu Dan instructed again, Natasha Romanoff, Clint, you two go together to prevent any fish from slipping through the net. Several people looked at each other, not knowing what to say for a moment. 1 second they were still discussing the plan to destroy the fortress, and the next second they were told that they could go directly over to receive the results of the battle. If Lin Feng knew what Lu Dan was thinking, he would definitely sneer at him. With a snap of his fingers, these people would not wake up until they were unconscious for 10 or 8 hours. Regardless of what Black Sauce Egg thinks, Lin Feng has already found Pietro who has fallen unconscious. This kid still has black hair now. I don't know whether he dyed his hair himself in the original book, or whether his hair turned silver white after his ability was enhanced. He touched Pietro with his toes and a stream of energy was transmitted over. Pietro woke up slowly and looked around with some confusion. When he saw Lin Feng, his eyes widened instantly. He rolled to the side and stood up, taking a defensive posture. Who are you? Lin Feng was too lazy to waste time talking to him. Pietro was not a young lady, he had no privileges. Pietro, right? Want to meet Wanda? Follow me. The blue portal reopened and Lin Feng walked in first, not giving Pietro any time to react. Hurry up, the portal will close soon. Pietro's mouth was open, with a confused expression. The behavior of the young man in front of him left him a little confused. But after just a slight hesitation, Pietro gritted his teeth and followed Lin Feng into the portal. Wanda has been out on a mission for nearly 2 days, and Pietro also knows that Wanda lost contact at noon. How can he not be worried? The man called out his and Wanda's names accurately. Even if there was a trap, Pietro had to bite the bullet and get into it. After all, Wanda is his only relative. Chapter 82. Following Lin Feng's step into the portal, the scene in front of Pietro changed and he came to a villa. He immediately saw Wanda sitting on the sofa. Pietro. Wanda also spotted Pietro and went up to give him a comforting hug. Thanks. This sentence was said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded, tell Pietro about the current situation. I'll go see how the dinner preparations are going. He didn't want to waste time talking, so he decided to let Wanda and Pietro communicate, which would be more effective. Wanda nodded obediently, pulled Pietro, who was full of questions, to sit on the sofa, and slowly began to narrate. Leaving the space to the two siblings, Lin Feng walked straight to the kitchen. At the moment Susan was preparing food with her back to him. Wow! Lin Feng took a look at the dinner and his eyes lit up. Barbecue, salads, seafood, and Raymond Lam's favorite hometown dishes. What a rich feast! Susan didn't look back and continued to prepare the ingredients. Definitely, it's abundant. It's to celebrate your two new brothers. Lin Feng chuckled, scratched his head, and watched Susan cook quietly. The tinkling sound continued and Susan stopped talking. Outside the kitchen, the two siblings were talking in low voices. In the kitchen, the two people who usually seemed to have endless topics to talk about were acting out of character. For some reason, the atmosphere became a little weird. Seeing the vegetables being cut into long and short pieces under Susan's knife, Lin Feng felt that Susan seemed a little absent-minded. Oh, by the way, I have to go to space again in a few days, and this trip may take 2 or 3 months. Lin Feng took the initiative to speak, pretending to casually tell his itinerary. The kitchen knife stopped in mid-air. Susan's shoulders trembled and she did not respond to Lin Feng's words. There was silence for 2 seconds. Even though Lin Feng was a straight man, he could tell that Susan was not in a good mood. He took 2 steps forward, hugged her gently from behind, and said softly, "What's wrong, Susan?" Susan, who was hugged by him, trembled again, but sighed softly. She turned around and buried her little head in Lin Feng's chest, preventing Lin Feng from seeing her expression. "I'm a little worried about you, Linear." After Lin Feng left, she couldn't help but ask Wanda what she had seen that frightened her so much. Wanda didn't think much about it and just said it without any hesitation. Huge amounts of spaceships, wars filled with smoke and blood, and tides of space invaders. Wanda described the scene vividly, and Susan seemed to see with her own eyes the huge amounts of spaceships falling in front of her, which frightened her so much that her heart was beating fast. She recalled the 2 times Lin Feng left, and knew clearly that these experiences happened at that time. She thought the invasion of the Chitauri was the most brutal scene she could imagine. However, in Lin Feng's experience, the Chitauri were just the beginning, like an appetizer. Feeling Susan's worry, Lin Feng smiled with some relief, thinking that his girlfriend cared about him. He patted Susan's back gently and comforted her. "There are too many threats in the universe, and our defense force is extremely weak. Something has to be done, Susan." Susan still nestled in his arms, her voice a little dull. "Why does it have to be you? Can't someone else go?" Raymond Lam smiled back and said something that countless Marvel fans are familiar with great ability comes great responsibility. We need to gather all the energy we can to face the possible dangers. Trust me, Susan, I can arrange all this." Susan nodded silently, but her arms around Lin Feng's waist became even tighter. Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but the feeling of being cared for by others still made him very happy. He continued to pat Susan's back. Okay, there are no alien creatures to fight with me on this space journey. I'm going to look for something. Don't worry, there's no danger this time. You promise?" Susan said in a muffled voice. Lin Feng chuckled, "I can definitely guarantee it." After getting Lin Feng's assurance, Susan raised her little head, and Lin Feng saw that her eyes were a little red. Pinching Susan's little face, Lin Feng gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'm Superman, and what I'm looking for this time will make me even more powerful. By the way, I have something else I want to discuss with you." Lin Feng struck while the iron was hot and quickly changed the somewhat heavy topic. "I want Wanda to live in our house." "Hey!" Susan's worried mood was instantly gone, and her eyes became dangerous. "Let Wanda live in? Are you attracted to her?" Lin Feng leaned back and reached out to pinch Susan's little face. "What are you thinking? Definitely not. Wanda's abilities are quite outstanding. With my help, she will become unexpectedly powerful. The main purpose of letting her live here is to protect you. As for his brother Pietro, I have other plans." Pietro Lin Feng had already planned it out. After strengthening, he would just send it directly to S.H.I.E.L.D. and hand it over to Nick Fury. Just like Tony, he is the only man who can live in his villa. Hearing this, Susan shook her head and raised the Superman wristband that looked like a couple's pair. I don't have this. Lin Feng smiled and said, it's not just this one reason. Wanda is kind-hearted, but she lacks a lot of life and social experience. To put it simply, it is easy to be deceived. I want you to guide her and keep her from taking any crooked path, my little reporter. What Raymond Lamb said was not wrong, but Wanda looked very gullible. In the movie, she was deceived by Hydra and then by Ultron, and her idiotic brother wasn't much stronger. Pietro can be handed over to S.H.I.E.L.D., but Wanda definitely can't. She must be on the same front with him. And as long as Wanda is with him, no matter what S.H.I.E.L.D. does, Pietro's sense of belonging will be with him. Susan pretended to be disappointed. You really like her after all. Lin Feng's face suddenly twisted. Looking at Lin Feng's wonderful expression, Susan couldn't help but laugh. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. I agree that Wanda can stay here. It's just that Wanda lives here, and she's totally fine with it. First of all, Wanda is a woman, and from the conversation we can tell that Wanda has a good heart. Secondly, Lin Feng had been away for several months, and it was inevitable that it would be a bit boring to be alone in such a big villa. I don't know what her best friend is busy with lately, and she may not be able to contact her once a week. With someone living with me, the huge villa doesn't seem lonely anymore. Chapter 83. Soon, the four of them sat down around the dining table. Wanda and Pietro sat together, and the twins seemed a little restrained. After all, they had hardly ever dined with others since they lost their parents. Pietro, Wanda told you everything. Pietro nodded somewhat silently. Wanda told Pietro everything she knew, including their enemy, Tony Stark. He knew that as Superman, Lin Feng would not lie to him. However, the truth that had been in his mind for more than 10 years was overturned in one day, which made him feel very unreal. Seeing Pietro nod, Lin Feng continued, then tell me your choice, Pietro. Pietro was obviously hesitant, and Wanda poked him quietly. Wanda's choice is my choice, but there are some things I want to verify myself, said Pietro. Lin Feng said it didn't matter. He probably knew what Pietro wanted to verify, which was whether Tony Stark was his enemy. Since you all agree, let me tell you about my arrangements. After dinner, I will help you improve your ability. Then, I will send Pietro to a place where you can earn a good income and have enough time and resources to investigate the truth of everything I said. But all this is not free. I think you should understand. Lin Feng emphasized. As a reward, Wanda has to live in my villa and protect Susan. Definitely, this is not dangerous for you. As for the term, let's set it at 1 year. During this period, I will pay you wages. This is all for now. Do you agree? The two siblings exchanged glances and nodded, indicating that they had no objection. The Hydra base was taken down by Lin Feng, and the two siblings had nowhere to go. None of them liked the life of wandering. Besides, the conditions offered by Lin Feng were very generous, and the two had no reason to refuse. As for Wanda living in the villa, Lin Feng would have any other thoughts. Pietro thought that unlikely. One reason is that Raymond Lamb is Superman and a public figure. Second, his girlfriend Susan also lives here, and even if Lin Feng has any ideas, Susan will stop him. If Lin Feng knew he was thinking this, he would definitely laugh out loud. Boy, you are too young. Seeing that the two agreed, Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. Now that the deal was done, they could have a happy meal. Okay. Let's eat first. After dinner, I will help you improve your ability. The twin brother and sister were already impatient for the sumptuous dinner. The two of them didn't have much money, and Hydra's food was not very delicious. The brother and sister have been wandering for several years and rarely see such abundant food. Without saying much, they had a sumptuous dinner and were both very satisfied. After dinner, Lin Feng arranged the two of them to stay in the guest room. There were quite a few rooms in his villa, but in order to facilitate their evolution, he arranged the two siblings together. Pointing to the two single beds, Lin Feng said, "Lie down, one for each of you. I will guide the energy in your bodies. You will fall into a coma, and when you wake up again, your ability will be greatly increased." The twins nodded and lay down on the bed fully clothed. The two men were like silly roe deer, not worrying at all that Lin Feng would harm them. No wonder the characters were deceived in the original book. Close your eyes. Lin Feng ordered. The two siblings closed their eyes obediently. Lin Feng raised his left hand, and the mind gem lit up with a yellow light. The yellow light was like smoke, and slowly floated towards the twins' brains under Lin Feng's urging. A wave of dizziness hit the twins, and they soon lost consciousness and fell into a coma. System, start. Lin Feng definitely didn't know how to guide the abilities of the two, but there was a dog system. It would be a waste if not used, at most it would cost some reputation points. With the help of the system, the energy of the mind gem constantly lures the abilities in the two people, constantly activating and strengthening them. The output power was sometimes high and sometimes low, and the two siblings frowned frequently without realizing it. After continuing the output for about 10 minutes, Lin Feng stopped the supply. All he has to do is guide and strengthen the role, which does not require too much energy. And even this is the limit of what the twins can bear at present. Now the abilities in their bodies are constantly changing. Everything will be known after they wake up. However, Lin Feng estimated that it would take at least until tomorrow for them to wake up. After closing the door, Raymond Lam is going to have a rest. It is another busy day for the superhero. No words were spoken that night. The next day, the twin siblings woke up earlier than Lin Feng expected. Early in the morning, Lin Feng was awakened by the clanging sounds in the yard. Looking out the window, the two siblings were excitedly experimenting with their abilities in Lin Feng's yard. Wanda's originally pitifully thin red energy now surrounded her hands with a density that was almost visible to the naked eye. Lin Feng was pleased that his ability had been strengthened, but when he saw the girl's experimental subject, his face suddenly darkened. The red origin magic power slowly lifted up a very cool-looking car, which was constantly floating up and down in the air. That was the Lamborghini that Raymond Lam had just bought at a huge expense. As if she was amazed at her own ability, Wanda's wrist dance was even more exciting than yesterday. Raymond Lam's Lamborghini danced happily in the air. Pietro, on the other hand, was running around in a circle in the yard, so fast that only slight silver marks were left behind. Lin Feng felt a little pain in his head. He walked out of the villa with a speechless expression on his face. The lawn of the villa was almost trampled bare by Pietro. These two, could they have the characteristics of naughty kids? Wanda! Lin Feng shouted unhappily. The sudden sound startled Wanda, and she instantly lost control of her not-so-experienced origin magic power. With a clang sound, the Lamborghini hit the ground heavily, the car window glass shattered immediately, and the tire also deflated. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The Lamborghini's alarm sounded aggrieved, as if complaining to Raymond Lam about Wanda's cruel methods. Wanda's neck shrank, her ability was strengthened, and she was too excited for a moment. Sorry. Wanda, like a shrinking goose, apologized quietly. Pietro also ran over, looked at the Lamborghini, then looked at the lawn he had damaged by running, and touched the back of his head awkwardly. I'm sorry, Mr. Superman. I'll work to compensate you. Lin Feng pinched his eyebrows, speechless and with a headache. Forget it, come in and have breakfast, after that I'll take you to work, Pietro. He decided to send Pietro to S.H.I.E.L.D. after breakfast. Chapter 84. After breakfast, Susan took Wanda shopping again. Wanda and Pietro were left empty-handed by Hydra, with barely any money and no luggage. Wanda needs to buy some personal items and clothes when she settles down. As for Lin Feng, he took Pietro directly to the aerospace mothership. He had to hurry and get Pietro out, because like repels like. On the deck of the helicarrier, Nick Fury, with his usual gloomy face, received the two people. Is this the superhero you were talking about? Black Egg looked at Pietro with his one eye. Wearing simple tights and sneakers, she would look like an ordinary person in the crowd, nothing special about her at all. However, it would not be prudent to say this, as Black Egg already knew that Wanda and Pietro were the only two people who survived Hydra's inhuman experiments. But he didn't understand why Lin Feng said he had the strength of a superhero. Hydra's database showed that neither of them had any outstanding abilities. Lin Feng chuckled. Lu Dan's data was obviously out of date. His villa was not something that Lu Dan could monitor whenever he wanted. Lu Dan would never have thought that Raymond Lam could strengthen the twins' super abilities. Pointing at a small black dot in the distance, Lin Feng patted Pietro on the shoulder. Young man! Show your future boss what you can do. Pietro nodded and disappeared in front of the two men in a flash. He also knows that he needs to prove his own value. The more outstanding his ability is, the more attention he will receive. Before Black Sauce Egg could react, Pietro came running back with a person on his shoulder. Phil Coulson looked confused. The last second, Phil Coulson was still holding the document and matching the data, when suddenly his eyes went dark and he was inexplicably carried in front of his own director. Director. The high-speed movement made Phil Coulson feel a little dizzy. Black Salted Egg ignored him, but the look he gave Pietro was full of interest. How did you do that? Black Egg asked. He just felt a breeze blowing and the young man disappeared. In less than a second, he carried Phil Coulson to him. Super speed. Lin Feng replied, a speed that cannot be captured by the naked eye. Definitely, he's not very fast now. After training, he will be faster. What do you think? I give the braised egg a thumbs up, not bad, really good. I'll take this one. Thanks to our Mr. Superman. But, you really don't have any conspiracy. Black Braised Egg changed the subject and couldn't help but ask Lin Feng again. It was mainly because of the ability that Pietro showed. Would Lin Feng give such a superhero to him for free? He might have other ideas in mind. In response, Lin Feng rolled his eyes. Nick Fury has asked himself 3 times. Do you think everyone is as dark-minded as you? Hearing Lin Feng say this, Lu Dan laughed but was not annoyed. The ability displayed by Pietro is of great help to S.H.I.E.L.D. Who doesn't want such an ability? But Lu Dan suspected that Lin Feng had other ideas and had to be cautious. But I'm not too worried about the braised eggs. The professional team within S.H.I.E.L.D. has already created a personal model of Raymond Lam. The final evaluation is, although a bit lazy, he has correct values, a sunny heart, a sense of justice, and can stick to his heart. Yes, if he couldn't stick to his original intention, Lin Feng would have turned into a traitor long ago. After all, if an ordinary person possesses the ability of Superman, the dark side and desires in his heart will be magnified infinitely. Black Egg was very satisfied with Pietro's initial display of ability. After confirming again and again that Raymond Lam had no conspiracy, he asked Phil Coulson to take Pietro down to test his personal data. He should have a sister. After making arrangements with Pietro, Black Egg pretended to mention it casually. Does his sister have any special abilities? As soon as Lu Dan opened his mouth, Lin Feng knew that he was not holding it in well. One Pietro was not enough, and he was planning to take over Wanda? Wanda, don't even think about it. I'll take care of the girl myself. Lin Feng's refusal made Lu Dan raise his eyebrows and he couldn't help muttering in his heart. Is Wanda's ability stronger than Pietro's? After thinking about it, Lu Dan, with a playful look on his face, threw out some bad water. Will Susan agree if you take the girl with you? How about giving it to me and I'll help you train it? He, crawl. Raymond Lam decisively refused. If you want your own Wanda, go ahead and dream big. There was nothing to say to this black braised egg. After making arrangements with Pietro, Lin Feng just patted his butt and left. It is worth mentioning that Lu Dan originally wanted to invite Raymond Lam to visit his helicarrier, but Raymond Lam refused without a second thought. He had no interest in the helicarrier, and was afraid that during the visit, Black Egg would play tricks again to get himself to join the Avengers. As I said, Raymond Lam doesn't want to be controlled by others and wants to join the Avengers himself. Maybe in the next life. Lin Feng's refusal was also within Lu Dan's expectations. He had seen long ago that this boy was adamant. Shaking his head, Lu Dan walked towards the office and waited quietly for Phil Coulson's test report. Pietro quickly completed the preliminary ability model, followed by a screening test of values, outlook on life and personality. Soon, his data was placed in front of Lu Dan. Ability, character, experience, family background, etc. Looking at the lines of data, Lu Dan nodded continuously. If you want to join the Avengers, you must have a kind heart and a sense of responsibility. If you fail to meet these 2 requirements, then at best you can only be an ordinary agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Fortunately, data shows that Pietro is very trainable. After thinking for a while, Lu Dan called Steve who was doing physical training. Pietro is not a bad person, his abilities are very outstanding, and test data clearly shows that he is a superhero-level Avenger. He is not very old, so Lu Dan plans to let Steve take care of him personally and instill some positive ideas in Pietro. As for Wanda, the relative listed in Pietro's profile, it was a pity that I couldn't get her. Lu Dan was secretly worried, while Lin Feng flew to Tony Stark's new villa. Marbury's villa was blown up, but who is Tony? He is a tycoon, and he has more than one villa. After the Iron Man 3 plot ended, Tony moved to another villa. As for Marbury's house, Tony probably won't live there anymore. After all, the address has been exposed to the whole world. Tony wasn't afraid of KB's attacks, but he couldn't stand having people come to his house every few days, which really made him irritated. "Sir, Mr. Lin Feng is here." Jarvis' voice rang out from the workroom. Tony looked up and narrowed his eyes. He was still studying the Mark 85. "Let him in and see how the reverse progress is going." "Close to 20%, sir." Tony frowned at Jarvis' words. The progress was slower than he expected. Although there are ready-made technologies for him to reverse engineer, some of them are still theoretical at the current time. If the technology cannot be fully analyzed, the finished product will not be just a little bit off. "Hey, Tony, is the battlesuit useful?" Lin Feng walked in with a smile. Tony praised without hesitation, "It works well, definitely works well. This battlesuit combines almost all my ideas and inspirations. It is perfect. As expected of me. Only I can create such a perfect battlesuit," Tony said, clicking his tongue in amazement. At present, Tony Stark's technology is ahead of the entire world, and the Mark 85 that Lin Feng brought him was made by himself 10 years later. The technical content in it is terrifyingly high. Okay, I'm not here to listen to you bragging about yourself. How's the research going?" The two had talked on the phone a few days ago. Tony wanted to study the technology inside and could not return the battlesuit for the time being. Raymond Lam said it didn't matter. The purpose of bringing it back was to allow Tony to develop and replicate it as soon as possible. It would be great if a more advanced Mark model could be made. About 20%, mainly because the time is too short and some technologies require a lot of deduction and testing, Tony explained. Lin Feng nodded. The battlesuit had only been in Tony's hands for a few days. Even if Tony was very powerful, it would be impossible for him to replicate this thing in just a few days. After all, the Mark 85 is not a few years ahead of the world, but a few years ahead of Tony. "Please reproduce it as soon as possible, and then give a set to me and Susan." Although this thing is not very useful to Raymond Lam, it still looks very handsome when he wears it. Hearing this, Tony nodded. This was absolutely no problem. The Mark 85s were all brought back by Raymond Lam from the future, so giving him 2 sets was no problem at all. Maybe it was wishful thinking for others to get Iron Man's battlesuit. Even Tony's J-side friend Rhodey only got a modified Mark II battlesuit. But Raymond Lam is different. Chapter 85. Lin Feng thought for a moment and said, "I have to go out again tomorrow. This time it will take at least 2 months. If the battlesuit is made, I will send one to Susan first." "Are you going out again? Going to the future again?" Tony subconsciously glanced at the wallpaper on the screen in front of him, which had been changed to a picture of little Morgan. However, this photo will only be displayed when he is there. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he did not mention this to Xiao Laojiao. After hesitating for a moment, Tony asked, "Can you take me with you this time? If it's convenient." Ever since he knew he would have a daughter named Morgan in the future, Tony would often smile foolishly at Morgan's photo. God knows how much he wanted to see his little daughter with his own eyes, even if it was just from a distance. Lin Feng shook his head and refused, "I can't take it with me. I'm not going to the future this time. I'm just going to the universe to find something. If you're in a hurry, go find Pepper and make a human. If you calculate the time, it'll only be a few years." That being said, due to the world line correction, it will be difficult for Tony to give birth to little Morgan before the time comes. It is impossible to go to the future, but if there is a chance, Raymond Lam would like to take Tony to 1970 for a stroll. After all, according to his own plan, the plot of Avengers Alliance 4 will basically not happen, and Tony will not meet his father like in the original. Lin Feng felt that would be a pity. All right. Tony felt a little disappointed when he heard that Raymond Lam was not going to the future, but not too disappointed. After all, little Morgan is his daughter after all. He can just have another one in the future and he will see her sooner or later. "Next time you go to the future, if it's convenient, remember to take me with you." "No problem, I'll take you there when I have the chance." Lin Feng nodded, writing the blank check with no pressure at all. After chatting with Tony for a while, Lin Feng looked at the sky outside and saw that it was already evening. "I suddenly felt like it was time to go home." The happy weekend holiday is over and we will set off to space tomorrow. Lin Feng plans to spend some time with Susan tonight. Susan has a hard time. Other couples spend every day together, but Raymond Lam is running around the universe, sometimes for months at a time. So one of the reasons why Raymond Lam let Wanda stay was so that there would be someone to accompany Susan when he was not around. Definitely, it has to be a woman. The next morning, as Susan and Wanda said goodbye, Lin Feng flew out of the atmosphere. Looking at the sun in the distance, Lin Feng sighed. The evolution failed last time. I hope there won't be any problems this time. If it doesn't work, I will go to another world to evolve. System. Lin Feng shouted in his mind, give me the coordinates of the Superman template. The system popped up and transmitted a line of coordinates. The drop coordinates have been marked, host, just head directly to this area. Lin Feng nodded, looked at the coordinates sent by the system, and used the space gem to open the portal. According to the system, the location of the drop is a planet with intelligent life. If this happened before Lin Feng traveled through time, it would probably cause a sensation. The world before the time travel spent so much energy and time searching for alien life, but there was not a single clue. However, there are aliens on the blue planet Marvel, and aliens are not a rare species in Marvel. The blue portal brought Lin Feng to a planet with a dark red main color. This is a planet that has been transformed into a relay station, which is very common in the Marvel Universe, and a large number of transactions are facilitated on this planet. There is a protective shield outside the planet's atmosphere that can resist energy attacks. On the outer layer of the protective shield, numerous spacecraft are suspended, some large and some small, constantly docking and leaving the port. Basically, they come here to shop or replenish supplies. The portal opened directly on the surface of the planet, a mechanical city with a cyberpunk style. Wow! As soon as he came out of the portal, Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. The scene before him was unexpected. I originally thought that the life planet mentioned by the system was like a primeval forest with at most 2 alien savages, but I didn't expect it to be a city with a cyberpunk style. The creatures that passed by Lin Feng from time to time were even more bizarre. There were strange-looking flipper fish heads, giant octopuses with blue tentacles, creatures that looked like standing elephants, and even some creatures that looked similar to Raymond Lam, but in a variety of colors. The strange alien creature was not surprised by Lin Feng's portal. It just glanced at him and continued on its way. Lin Feng looked at the city curiously. Neon lights flicker on both sides of the street, and the main colors of the buildings are all colorful metallic styles. The shops on the street were selling things that Lin Feng couldn't understand, and he didn't know what they were selling. The strange-looking shop assistants were chattering away. The entire street stretched as far as the eye could see, filled with noisy conversations and dynamic music, and Lin Feng couldn't understand a word of it. The shops are crowded together and there is no space at all. Some shops are even suspended in mid-air. Huge amounts of Ferris wheels, alien-style retro suspension bridges, and blue-black liquid flowing under the bridge. The whole city is filled with metal and mechanical gears. Wow, this is an eye-opener. When Lin Feng retires, he will develop this place into a tourism industry, interstellar tourism. He will definitely make a lot of money. In order to facilitate his actions, Lin Feng spent 10,000 reputation points to exchange for the common language. The noisy conversation that he could not understand just now was automatically converted into a meaning that Lin Feng could understand the next second. It is much more convenient than learning with Superman ability. System, where is the template exactly? After a brief tour, Lin Feng got down to business. Although the city scenery was novel, he was not there to enjoy the view. The template location has been marked. The system responded. The next second, a circular electronic map appeared in the upper left corner of Lin Feng's sight, like a radar, with a red dot constantly flashing on the top. However, this red dot has been moving slowly, which should be similar to what the system speculated. The box of the Superman template is most likely picked up by other life forms. How convenient. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows, whistled, and walked towards the red dot, but in his heart he was thinking about how to get the box back. The red dot walked straight forward as if it had a destination. Lin Feng followed the red dot slowly. Just as he thought, after a moment, the red dot stopped and no longer moved. Lin Feng, who followed closely, looked up and seemed to have stopped at a cyberpunk-style nightclub. There is an eye-catching light tube sign, and next to the door stand 2 blue monsters with huge heads and bodies like speakers. The speakers in their bellies are constantly vibrating, and they are continuously emitting dynamic music. Groups of strange creatures constantly came in and out, hugging each other. Extinguished star bar. Lin Feng read the lighted sign. It turned out to be a bar. Lin Feng looked at the red dot again and confirmed that he was in the bar. I walked in, and the big speaker at the door did not block me. As soon as I entered the door, the light dimmed, and overwhelming colorful lasers danced in the air. Deafening music sounded, and I couldn't tell some strange smell coming towards me, like perfume. It looks exactly like the bar on Blue Star, except that the people dancing on the poles are not humans. It looked more like a hippopotamus without its skin. It had a nice body, but it was too weird and Raymond Lam couldn't appreciate it. Following the red dot, Lin Feng shuttled through the crowd and soon saw a creature with a highlighted mark. The system considerately outlined the entire creature with a red border. Host, the Superman template is on him, the system prompted. Lin Feng looked in the direction indicated by the system. Oh boy, a raccoon? He was wearing a tactical vest and carrying a large gun on his back, and he looked extremely familiar. Lin Feng looked strange. Isn't this a rocket? Chapter 86. Experimental Subject 89P13 is the real name of the rocket. A highly genetically modified and mechanically modified biochemical animal from a half-world. It is said that he has neural machines implanted in his body. I don't know if it is because of this reason that Rocket's technology in modifying and manufacturing machinery is very advanced, even comparable to Tony Stark, who is cursed by knowledge. He is agile, proficient in various weapons, and works as a bounty hunter in the universe with Groot. Lin Feng saw this thing in Avengers Alliance 4. But I didn't say a few words to this guy. In the bar, Rocket was sitting at a table, kicking his short legs in the air, looking around as if he was waiting for someone. Although seemingly nonchalant, Rocket is actually constantly observing the situation around him. He is an experienced bounty hunter and always pays attention to any disturbance around him. After thinking about it, Lin Feng walked over, sat opposite Rocket, and stared at him. Hey, man, what are you looking at me for? Noticing Lin Feng's gaze, Rocket bared his teeth and yelled fiercely. There's already someone here, man. If you want to have fun, go somewhere else. Rocket has a very bad temper and is easily angered, with a bad personality. Rocket. Lin Feng called out his name directly. Oh. Rocket was stunned. You know my name. The raccoon rolled his eyes. You're the buyer? No, you're not the buyer. Is it my admirer? Ha 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 ha, am I already so famous in the universe? Rocket laughed loudly, but suddenly his expression changed and he took out a hand cannon and aimed it at Lin Feng. No matter who you are, don't interfere with my business. Get out of here before I lose my temper. Faced with Rocket's face-changing performance, Raymond Lam exclaimed it was brilliant, and asked if he had learned this specifically in the East. I have something to talk to you about. Lin Feng glanced at Rocket's hand cannon, his tone still calm, making Rocket feel like he was holding a fire stick. Oh. A lot of people have come to me for business, but I don't have that much free time. Didn't I make it clear? Do you want to taste the power of my modified weapon? Rocket raised his hand cannon and threatened, see? This is a weapon. An energy weapon. One shot can blow your head off. Lin Feng shook his head, took out a picture and pushed it to Rocket, then got straight to the point. You have this thing on you, right? The picture shows a rectangular metal box with a diamond frame-like outline and a shape-shifting S logo inside. Oh. Rocket recognized it. He picked this thing up from this planet a few months ago. But no matter what the Rockets did, they couldn't open this thing. Rocket was not discouraged by this, because the fact that he couldn't open the thing even with his knowledge and skills of mechanics was enough to prove that the box contained something of great value. Rocket's pointy head worked at full speed, and he asked, do you know what this is? He did not deny that he had this thing. The other party was obviously well prepared and called out his name, proving that this person at least had some understanding of him. I definitely know, because this is what I lost. Lin Feng nodded and said, I hope you give it back to me. What the hell? Rocket stretched out his little finger to scratch his ear, then his expression became one of disbelief, and finally he burst into laughter. He jumped onto the table, and moved his hand cannon up and down towards Lin Feng recklessly. Your stuff. Did he write your name on it? Oh. I don't think so. Even if there is a name, it must be the name of this rocket. Everything that comes into my hands is mine. Say it again now. Whose stuff is this? Huo Jian put the gun to Lin Feng's forehead and shouted arrogantly. Lin Feng pinched his brows and his eyes turned cold. Damn, this is such a jerk. I want to punch him into a meat pie. What should I do? He remembered that in the original book, although Rocket was a bad-mouthed person, he was not so arrogant. The raccoon in Avengers Alliance 4 was relatively quiet, but why was he so naughty in the past few years? Originally, Lin Feng planned to resolve the problem peacefully, but this brat didn't seem to give him a chance. Super speed was activated. Lin Feng grabbed Rocket's hand cannon and squeezed it with a click. Rocket's carefully modified mechanical energy hand cannon didn't last even a second before being crushed into a ball. Oh my god! Rocket's eyes widened and he quickly took 2 steps back. Before he could see Lin Feng's movements clearly, the hand cannon had already turned into debris. His heart skipped a beat, he felt like he had hit a wall. Hey, man, I was just kidding you. Seeing that Lin Feng's face turned cold, Rocket smiled apologetically and used his unique face-changing skills again. As expected, he is an experienced bounty hunter, Mr. Rocket. He backed away slowly, one hand constantly pressing down, the other hand slowly reaching for the weapon behind him. However, this little action could not escape Lin Feng's sight. Before Rocket could react, Lin Feng picked him up. Facing Superman's speed, the raccoon couldn't escape. This is not the place to talk. After he finished speaking, a portal suddenly appeared behind Lin Feng. He walked in with the rocket in one hand. Seeing the two of them leaving through the portal, the bar was still filled with singing and dancing. They had seen all kinds of scenes. Just don't disturb their happiness. Lin Feng teleported into an alley with a rocket. Before going to the bar, Lin Feng noticed this alley, which was definitely a prime location for robbery. Wow! Man, you have your own teleportation device. When Rocket saw that Lin Feng could actually teleport himself, his interest immediately overwhelmed his fear. As far as he could remember, there was no such convenient transmission device. He had been to so many places in the universe, but had never seen such a simple and convenient teleportation device, not even one. Suddenly, Rocket became interested in what Lin Feng was using to teleport. Lin Feng didn't plan to waste too much time talking to Rocket. This thing was just an annoying little thing and extremely mean. This little thing is full of tricks. Normally, it is impossible to convince him. We can only use force to force him, so as to avoid any more trouble. Look, Rocket, that box is indeed mine, and I think you can give it back to me. As he spoke, Lin Feng's eyes gradually lit up with red light. Believe me, you don't want me to solve the problem with violence. A heart-pounding energy began to surge, and Rocket's heart skipped a beat, his eyes darting around. Well, man, I do have this thing. Rocket fished out a rectangular box from somewhere. But according to the rules, whoever picks it up owns it, right? Rocket said tentatively. I think you should pay me. You should at least pay me for the storage fee. I stole this from an alien crocodile. Seeing that Lin Feng didn't say anything, Rocket scratched his butt and continued to act stupidly. How about exchanging your teleporting device, base? A red laser brushed past the Rocket's scalp and hit the ground, instantly creating a big hole in the ground. Rocket was scared to death. This creature came from nowhere and was so terrifying that it could actually emit lasers from its eyes. For a while, the Rockets didn't have the courage to bargain with Lin Feng anymore. At the beginning, Lin Feng looked very kind, and the Rockets thought he was someone who was easy to bully, but they didn't expect him to be an impenetrable stone. Between money and life, the Rockets chose the latter without hesitation. He threw the cuboid to Lin Feng. Okay, man. I'll give it back to you. Chapter 87. After Lin Feng got the box, he glanced at Rocket and turned away. He didn't really want to kill Rocket, he was just threatening him. Otherwise, this BD wouldn't hand over his things so easily. Watching Lin Feng leave, Huo Jian breathed a sigh of relief, secretly thinking that his life was saved. Although his life was saved, the item agreed upon in the transaction was taken away. After this wave of heavy losses, the shrewd Rockets lost any room for resistance in the face of absolute power. Not only did he lose his money-making stuff, but even the hand cannon was broken by Lin Feng. Rocket felt a little frustrated, but there was nothing he could do. Being well versed in mechanics, he knew the power of Lin Feng's heat ray. Can't stop it. Can't beat it. Rocket lowered his head, looking somewhat dejected, and angrily kicked the small stone at his feet away. He was still mumbling, "What bad luck! What bad luck!" The sudden voice startled Rocket. He looked up and saw that the human being was floating in the air and flew back again. Why are you back again? I don't have anything valuable on me. Rocket stared at Lin Feng vigilantly and took 2 steps back. Could it be that this person wants to steal things from me? Lin Feng shook his head with amusement, took out a triangular piece of metal and threw it to Rocket. This is for you. It was not as Rocket expected. Not only did Lin Feng not rob Rocket, but he threw something to him instead. Rocket took it subconsciously. The grey metal sheet had a raised button with an S-shaped logo printed on it, the same shape as the one on the rectangle he returned to Lin Feng. This is a distress signal, little raccoon. If you are in danger, press the S symbol on it hard. I will arrive in time to save your life. Consider it my compensation for breaking your weapon. After saying that, Lin Feng quickly flew into the sky and left. Although Rocket's usual actions are a bit despicable, his nature is not bad. All of this stems from his experience. To be honest, although the Rockets are indeed mean, Lin Feng knows that is just a protective color of the Rockets in disguise. He didn't hate the little raccoon, so he decided to help if he could. Rocket looked at the sky where Lin Feng disappeared, and then looked at the triangular sheet in his hand. Raccoon, what is that? After leaving the transit planet, Lin Feng floated in the universe and talked with the system. Before setting off, Lin Feng came up with an idea. He wanted to go to other universes to start evolution after getting the template. After all, Lin Feng was unconscious during the evolution period. If he was attacked again, he would probably be so angry that he would vomit blood. The exiles probably wouldn't have considered evolving in another universe. Even if they did, it would be too late by the time they found themselves. System, come out. Lin Feng called. Is there a way to go to other universes? He himself has no means to travel to other universes, nor does he have the time-space navigation shuttle in Avengers Alliance 4. After thinking about it, I can only ask the dog system. If that doesn't work, you can only take the risk of evolving in the main universe. Host, didn't you get a master key as a reward last time? The system quickly gave an answer. This sentence reminded Lin Feng that there was indeed a master key reward in the Avengers Alliance 4 event. Lin Feng took out the golden key from his backpack. Master key, used 3 times can open a cosmic portal with coordinates. A simple line of words, very easy to understand. But Lin Feng frowned. How could he use this key when he didn't have the coordinates of other universes? System, do you have the coordinates of other universes? Lin Feng continued to ask. He didn't have them, but maybe the system might have them. There is currently only one DC universe coordinate, which is the DC universe that the last mission reached. The system's voice sounded, however, I do not recommend the host to return to the DC universe. It would be a waste to use your chance in the DC universe. With the help of the system, the master key can open the transmission of random universes. Generally, a system task will appear after teleportation, so it is recommended that the host use random teleportation. Since I have to use the master key every time, I might as well go to a new universe. Not only can I get new coordinates, but I can also complete missions and make some money. After the system's words, Lin Feng's heart was moved. He didn't expect the master key could be used in this way. Under normal circumstances, it is indeed more cost-effective to go to a completely new universe, as new missions represent new opportunities and rewards. And as of now, there should be no disaster in the DC universe that requires his intervention. After some thought, Lin Feng decided to open the random universe as the system said. Is it a random universe or a Marvel parallel universe? Lin Feng asked. If possible, he would like to go to some anime universe or other movie universe. Those universes more or less contain what he needs. For example, some strengthening serums, all kinds of strange props and so on. Although he cannot use it himself, he can give it to people around him. It would be really great if we could go to the Blue Fat Man's universe. The thing in the Blue Fat Man's dimensional pocket is so powerful that it's unreasonable. However, Lin Feng did not hold much hope for this, as his intuition told him that it was unlikely. There is a 99% chance that the random teleportation is a random Marvel parallel universe, and 1% is some other random universe. The system's answer confirmed Lin Feng's intuition. Lin Feng frowned. Is there only a 1% chance that it is another random universe? That basically means saying goodbye to the Blue Fat Man's universe. The probability of randomly returning to the Blue Fat Man's universe from the 1% of the universe is too small. Do you have any other questions? If not, I can help you travel through time, the system urged. No more, let's start, Lin Feng replied. It's only 2 months. It's always safer to evolve in other universes than in the main universe. If we evolve here and something similar happens as last time, we'll be screwed. The system moved very quickly. As soon as Lin Feng agreed, a portal suddenly opened in front of him. At the same time, a prompt sounded in his mind. Use of the Master Key, 1. This time, you travel to the numbered outer universe, Venom. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. Venom? That Venom from Eddie Brock? What does numbered extra universe mean? Lin Feng asked as he stepped into the portal. The numbered extra universe is a parallel universe that was accidentally created by the main character. To put it simply, in Avengers Alliance 4, the past Tony returns to is not his own past, but the equivalent of another parallel universe. The system gave an analogy, and Lin Feng instantly understood its meaning. He nodded. It was indeed the Marvel Universe, but he didn't know which universe Venom belonged to outside of this number. Is it the Marvel Universe with Spider-Man, or the Marvel Sony Universe starring Thug Hardy? Stepping out of the portal, Lin Feng arrived in the extra-numbered Venom universe. He was still floating in the universe, and it didn't feel much different from the main universe. On the left is a bright blue star, and on the right is a hot yellow dwarf. Lin Feng did not plan to go to the blue star first, nor did he ask the system if there were any tasks. Instead, he just thought about it and opened a portal on the surface of the yellow dwarf star. No problem, infinite gems can still be used in the numbered extra universe. Leaping into the sun, just like the last time, Lin Feng slowly closed his eyes and felt the scorching temperature of the Sunday system. Start the evolution. Lin Feng ordered. Now that the decision has been made, they should hurry up and evolve to avoid any more trouble. Even if the system task is triggered, you have to wait until your evolution is complete. Silver Superman template, evolution has begun. The estimated evolution time, 60 days. The system's formulaic voice came, followed by a feeling of drowsiness sweeping over Lin Feng's brain. The same evolution process as last time. I hope there won't be any accidents this time. After mumbling something, Lin Feng slowly fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 88. Lin Feng lay comfortably in the sun and evolved. Little did they know that the blue planet in this universe was suffering terribly. In the southeastern part of the United States, the city of Garcia, fictional, covers an area of 916 square kilometers and has a permanent population of approximately 4 million. As a coastal tourist city, it has beautiful scenery and a huge luxury shopping mall. It receives tens of millions of tourists every year, and its GDP alone amounts to hundreds of billions of dollars a year. The hot summer is the peak tourist season. At this time of year in the past, Garcia City was bustling with people. However, the city center, which should have been crowded with people at this time, was unusually quiet at the moment. The streets that were once carefully cleaned are now overgrown with weeds and filled with smoke and dust. The regional-style buildings on both sides have become dilapidated, with ruins scattered everywhere. Upon closer inspection, the ruins were covered with horrific claw marks, deep and large, as if they had been attacked by an unknown beast. The whole city seemed to have lost its breath of life. Not even a bird chirping could be heard. The silence was so terrifying that it made one's scalp numb. It's like a zombie apocalypse scene in a movie. Buzz. The sound of a car engine starting suddenly came, which was particularly harsh in this silent city. Roar. As if startled by the sound of the engine, a beast-like howl came from all around the street, so sharp that it made the eardrums hurt. In the center of the street, a badly damaged black Chevrolet was driving madly towards the outside of the city. He kept hitting obstacles along the way, but didn't dare to stop at all. Behind the vehicle, 3 monsters of huge amounts are chasing closely. The monster is huge and agile. Beneath its human-like appearance are a pair of huge pale eyes, and a bloody mouth full of fangs that occasionally swallows and spits out a large python-like tongue. Its incredibly swollen muscles hide sharp claws that constantly destroy the hard asphalt road as it runs. Running at high speed, the 3 monsters gradually caught up with Chevrolet. The purple monster running in the front leaped onto the roof of the moving car with its thick thighs. Swish! The black claws flashing with cold light pierced into the roof of the car effortlessly and blew it away. However, before the monster could take the next step, a sharp knife covered with red veins suddenly stretched out from the car and swiftly chopped at the purple monster's head. Base. This slash directly cut off half of the monster's head. The purple monster instantly lost its strength and fell down. The sharp claws that stretched out from the car did not retract immediately, but instead transformed into countless tentacles like plasticine, grabbing the gravel and other objects on both sides of the road and smashing them at the other two monsters that were still chasing. As the two monsters chased and hit each other, their speed gradually slowed down. In the end, all I could do was watch the vehicle drive further and further away. Roar! The monster roared unwillingly, and then spoke in human language. Traitor! Another traitor! The sound was extremely unpleasant and harsh, like the sound of broken glass scratching on a blackboard. It doesn't matter, the leader won't let her go. Behind the two monsters, the purple monster whose head had been chopped off had recovered as if it was not him who was chopped. The three monsters looked at each other, licked their eyes with their python-like tongues, and walked back tacitly. If Lin Feng were here, he would definitely recognize these three monsters. They are all Venom symbiote fellows. Nearly half of the area of the blue planet in the numbered Venom universe has been occupied by symbiotes. Eddie Brock did not succeed in stopping the riot like in the movie. This allowed Dr. Drake, who was possessed by Riot, to successfully drive the spaceship to his home planet. Several months later, Riot returned to Blue Star with countless symbiotes. An overwhelming disaster swept across the world, and the symbiotes possessed and devoured humans wantonly. During the initial period, humans had almost no ability to fight back against the symbiotes. The monster cannot be destroyed by knives or killed by guns. Its arms can transform into various weapons, which can kill humans with one blow. The bewildered humans fled in panic. The clever symbiotes seized the opportunity and reproduced themselves without restraint, and their numbers exploded at one point. It took only a few months for the disaster to spread across the globe. Humans were once reduced to tools and food. In a word, it was miserable and exhausting to escape. Yet humanity is not completely hopeless. Soon, the J countries discovered that the symbiote was afraid of sound waves and fire of specific frequencies. A counterattack against the symbiote begins. After months of tug-of-war, humans and the symbiotes almost divided half of the blue planet. Humans gathered in the main city and built fortresses, with huge amounts of loudspeakers and flamethrowers scattered around the perimeter, repelling the attacks of the symbiotes time and time again. I thought I had accumulated enough power to completely destroy the symbiote. However, the development of things was despairing. Among the symbionts, a small number of them have evolved, or mutated. Some of the newly born symbiotes are no longer afraid of fire and sound waves, which means that in order to eliminate one of these symbiotes, humans can only use heavy weapons or sacrifice the lives of soldiers. This situation did not begin to improve until a month ago. The symbiote can amplify the evil in the human heart, but if the human being it parasitizes has more justice in his heart than evil, then there is a high probability that he will assimilate the symbiote. In this way, the group led by Eddie Brock and Venom joined the human camp. Subsequently, more and more sane symbiotes and hosts joined the human camp. They dealt with the symbiote that was not afraid of sound waves and fire, greatly reducing human casualties. Humans are plotting how to eliminate the symbiote. The symbiote is also constantly planning how to break through the human fortress. A bunch of rubbish. In a villa in Garcia City, Riot sat on the throne and yelled. 3 trembling symbiotes were kneeling on the stage. Chief, her ability is very powerful. We can't stop her, base. The head of the symbiote that was speaking was chopped off. Coincidentally, the head of this purple symbiote had just been chopped off once. Excuses, all excuses. Riot yelled angrily. Pain, hybrid, go after her. Go bite her head off. Riot was furious at the betrayal around him, and he sent out 2 subordinates with outstanding abilities one after another. Yes. Beside Riot, 2 crimson symbiotes looked at each other, and then quickly rushed towards the only interstate highway outside the city. Apart from the airport, Garcia City only has this intercontinental highway connecting it to the outside world. The betrayer must escape through this long interstate highway. The 2 symbiotes guessed correctly. On the usually busy interstate highway, there was only a bald-top black Chevrolet on the road. There was a short-haired beauty in the car. It was Gwen Stacy who escaped from Garcia City. A big red head popped out from her shoulder. It looked similar to the 3 monsters that had just chased them, but it was much smaller. Gwen, where are we going next? A sharp and piercing female voice sounded. Head north to the gathering place of Huajinzhou. Gwen answered without hesitation that she had already thought of where to go before she defected. Chapter 89. Buzz. A furious red sports car drove out of Garcia City and headed forward along the interstate highway at an extremely fast speed. The symbiote that came out to look for food just took a look and then retracted its head. Sitting in the car were the chief's right-hand men, Pain and Hybrid, who were not people they could afford to mess with. The sports car shuttled through the road like lightning, with the speed once approaching 300 km per hour. The man sitting in the passenger seat licked his eyes with a painful big tongue, which was very perverted. Faster, faster. I want to taste her head. Pain felt that the car was not going fast enough, so he urged them to go faster. The hybrid was driving the vehicle and gave her a cold look. Dian's head is mine. These words paused the painful and arrogant howl, and he turned around to meet the hybrid's sinister eyes. You want to steal her head from me? No, no, no. You're not fast enough. She screamed in pain. Her speed was among the best among all the symbiotes. The hybrid wanted to compete with her for the head? I'm afraid there was no chance. Roar. The hybrid twisted its head irritably, and its python-like tongue stretched out and constantly flew in the air. By devouring toxic flame, one can obtain toxic flame's ability. Both symbiotes are very envious of toxic flame's ability. You want to snatch Dian's head from me? I don't mind twisting your head off first. As an appetizer. The hybrid's threat made Pain narrow his eyes. Catch up with her first. You know the consequences of failing the mission. As for her head, it depends on your ability. The hybrid growled, but didn't argue, pressing the accelerator even faster. To be honest, the threat of the hybrid made Pain hold back a little. The hybrid is composed of 4 symbiotes with superb abilities, and possesses the composite abilities of many brothers and sisters. In the comics, hybrid consists of Riot, Whip, Pain, and Devour. The symbiote in this world is obviously different from the original. Although the hybrid's speed is not as fast as Pain's, its fighting ability is superior to hers. If they want to get Du Yan's head, they will have to fight. The interstate stretches northward as far as the eye can see, connecting a huge amounts of settlements. The Huajianzhou settlement is one of the 5 major human settlements established after the invasion of the symbiote. A towering metal wall surrounds the entire city. There are more than 20 million residents inside, of which about 1 million are combat units. Eddie Brock and Venom are stationed in this gathering place. He has a team composed entirely of symbiotes, numbering around 500. Normally, the symbiote hides under human skin and only turns into a hideous and terrifying monster when fighting. At the moment, Eddie Brock and several humans in uniforms were standing on the metal fence, looking into the distance. Eddie. What's going on? The speaker was a serious-looking man, about 30 years old. He was wearing a camouflage uniform with a conspicuous J title hanging on his shoulder. The above means that Du Yan joining the human camp is taken very seriously. Symbiotes can be strong or weak. As of now, the threat posed by ordinary symbiotes to humans has been greatly reduced. What needs attention are those symbiote elites with extreme titles. For example, torture, instruments of torture, screams, etc. Their abilities are endless, and as the new generation of elites, they are no longer afraid of fire and sound waves. These elite symbiotes will cause massive casualties to the human camp every time they take action. The total number of symbiotes in the human defense line is less than 2,000. In the symbiote camp, there are no less than 20,000 new generation aggregates that are not afraid of sound waves and fire at a rough observation. Humanity was once caught in a bitter battle. If it were not for the existence of heavy weapons such as missiles, the human settlements would have been wiped out long ago. The one who sent the message to join them this time is Du Yan, an elite among the new generation of elites. Not only is she not afraid of fire and sound waves, she can even control fire. Ordinary symbiotes are nothing but a piece of cake in front of her. Moreover, according to the information, the human being that toxic flame parasitizes is Spider-Woman, who was known as a good neighbor before the invasion of the symbiote. No one has ever seen what Spider-Woman looks like. She always appears in dangerous places wearing a leather suit. The only thing we know is that she is a young woman. The more powerful the carrier that the symbiote parasitizes, the more powerful the symbiote will be. The combination of toxic flame, who is not afraid of fire and sound waves, and the Spider-Woman host, makes them an ace-like existence both in the symbiote camp and in the human camp. So it is understandable why the higher UPS would attach importance to this newly joined symbiont. To put it bluntly, this pair is likely to become the backbone of the fight against the extreme symbiote. Hearing the man's question, Eddie fiddled with the signal receiving device in his hand. Captain Hawk, the poisonous flame has lost its signal since it left Garcia City. I think the signal receiver is damaged. If all goes well, she will arrive at the gathering place in a week. Commander Hawk looked serious and nodded silently. After thinking for a moment, he ordered, continue to try to contact Du Yan. The higher UPS are taking this poisonous flame very seriously. I will apply to borrow a satellite to observe the situation. Do you want me to go and help? Eddie asked. They knew that Toxic Flame's ability was very powerful, and Riot, the leader of the symbiote, definitely knew it too. Eddie is worried that Riot will send a powerful symbiote to hunt down Venomy. Hawk pondered for a moment and shook his head, you can't go. The symbiote led by Slaughter is still wandering 50 kilometers away. We can't take any chances. Eddie nodded, somewhat helplessly, okay, I understand. Hawk patted Eddie on the shoulder and left. He is going to apply for the right to use the satellite. The Riot intentionally destroyed most of the satellites when it entered the Earth. Now the United States has only 2 observation satellites left, both of which have small areas of damage and the signals are often interrupted. This creates a huge obstacle to observing the actions of the symbiote. Don't think that all symbiotes are idiots, many of them are smart. The officers had a hunch that this would be a protracted battle. Humanity's protracted battle against alien parasites. Fortunately, the right to use the satellite was approved quickly. After Hawk waited anxiously, an instant video appeared on the screen. On the straight interstate highway, there were 2 cars driving, one black and one red. The black vehicle is not going very fast, and the red vehicle is constantly approaching. Hawk's face turned ugly. Sure enough, the Riot would not let the poison flame leave easily. After weighing it over and over again for a while, Hawk pressed the red button on the console, turned around and gave a few instructions to his subordinates. At the underground launch base, a missile entered its trajectory. Buzz. On the interstate highway, an extremely slight buzzing sound reached Gwen's ears. It was the sound of an engine running. Gwen could tell that the sound did not belong to the car she was driving. Her scalp suddenly felt tight and painful. Spider telepathy was telling her that there was danger. A large amount of red liquid came out of Gwen's back and formed a big head in an instant. It was poison flame. Gwen, there is danger approaching. Yet. I've noticed it. Gwen stepped on the accelerator hard, but the damaged Chevrolet had already reached its speed limit. Get ready to fight, poison flame. As soon as he finished speaking, red liquid began to seep out from Gwen's body surface, and in a moment a light red monster appeared, with explosive body curves, a hideous head, and red lines all over its body, faintly glowing. The engine noise behind him grew louder and louder, and a red sports car gradually appeared in the Chevrolet's rearview mirror. Roar! He jumped onto the roof of the car in pain and excitement. I've caught up with you, I've caught up with you. Chapter 90. The 2 cars were getting closer and closer. He let out a loud roar of pain and excitement, jumped with his strong legs, and flew into the air towards the Chevrolet. Seeing that the visitor had ill intentions, several sharp spikes condensed from behind the poisonous flame and shot towards the Pain at a high speed. The Pain seemed to be prepared, and his arms suddenly formed a thick shield to block the spikes. She rolled in the air and successfully jumped onto the Chevrolet. Little poison flame. Where do you want to go? He laughed wildly with a twisted Pain, and his right hand condensed into huge amounts of spikes, which he stabbed downwards violently. The sharp stinger pierced through the bottom of the car and embedded itself into the hard road surface, leaving a deep groove. The Chevrolet was forced to stop. Without saying a word, Du Yan slammed his sandbag-sized fist wrapped in scorching flames into Pain's face. One strike blasted the Pain away. It is a fire control ability. Poison flame can manipulate flames and even create flames itself. With a punch, he sent the Pain away and Du Yan jumped out of the car. The Chevrolet was painfully punctured and clearly unusable again. Du Yan looked coldly at the 2 of his kind who were chasing him. It's hybrid and painful. The situation is not good. Pain is as strong as her, but the hybrid's abilities are varied and his strength is greater than hers. In a one-on-one fight, she has a chance, but with 2 symbiotes, she can only find a chance to escape. It's a hybrid. Gwen, the situation is a bit bad. Flame whispered, unlike her other brothers and sisters, her strange personality was not at all flamboyant or ferocious. Instead, she was like a human being who was always calm. Fight calmly. Gwen's voice sounded, don't worry, the humans they parasitize are far less powerful than me. We have a chance. During the conversation, the pain from falling to the ground made him stand up as if nothing had happened, and his big tongue was flying in the air excitedly. Little poison flame, have you forgotten? Sister is just like you, she is not afraid of fire. The hybrid also got out of the sports car, and his right hand transformed into a sharp bayonet. Traitor! I'm here to take your head. It's better to strike first. Du Yan didn't say a word and took the lead in attacking. She swung her hands violently, condensing several terrifying red spikes, which whistled directly towards the hybrid. You want my head? Let's see if you have what it takes. The hybrid tilted his head slightly to avoid several poisonous stingers, and he felt excited when the battle started. When the first strike failed, Du Yan exerted force with her feet. Huge amounts of force crushed the hard asphalt road, and the powerful thrust shot her towards the hybrid. The hybrid howled before his arms transformed into flesh and blood blades and faced the poisonous flames fearlessly. Die! Du Yan roared and jumped up into the air. His right hand turned into a sharp blade of flesh and blood, and he slashed at the hybrid ferociously with flames. The two symbiotes instantly engaged in battle, their sharp claws constantly leaving after images in the air. The sharp blade of the poisonous flame is covered with black veins. It is poison. Even the symbiote cannot resist the poison. This is another ability of poison flame. The horrible hybrid of poison was well aware of this, and he danced with his pair of blades, constantly colliding with it. After a few moves, the hybrid gained the upper hand. The hybrid formed by the fusion of four symbiotes is obviously stronger than poison flame in combat power. In a short while, dozens of wounds were ploughed on Du Yan's body, and the speed of swinging the sharp blade in his hand was constantly slowing down. Seeing that the poisonous flame seemed to be unable to hold on any longer, the hybrid let out a joyful roar, and flaws appeared in the movements of his hands. Du Yan, take advantage of now. Gwen gave an order, and Du Yan instantly gave up control of his body. In a millisecond, Gwen took over the body and slashed with a powerful sword. The hybrid was caught off guard and tried to block the attack with the blade in panic, but was forced back several steps by the powerful force. Base. A black stinger shot out and instantly penetrated the hybrid's shoulder. A feeling of powerlessness came over him, and the hybrid staggered. Success! Du Yan's eyes lit up, and the sharp blade of flesh and blood swept out again, heading towards the hybrid's thick neck. Bang! A dark red afterimage shot out from the side and collided with the poisonous flame, causing the knife to miss. It was pain that rescued the hybrid. Don't underestimate her, idiot! Have you forgotten who her host is? Pain yelled at the hybrid. You don't need to remind me. The hybrid looked at the Pain coldly, then pulled out the sharp stinger. The wound healed quickly. There was not much poison on the thorn, and the hybrid successfully neutralized the toxin. Pain licked the hideous face. Let's do it together. You know what the consequences will be if we fail. The hybrid snorted coldly, his terrifying eyes showing a fierce and cruel light, but he did not refute the Pain. The two symbiotes tacitly shifted their attention to Du Yan. The wounds on Du Yan's body were healing while the two were talking, and he was staring at Pain and the hybrid vigilantly. A breeze blew, and the three symbiotes charged at the same time. Sharp blades made of flesh and blood were flying all over the sky, and the three symbiotes were constantly colliding with each other. For a moment, gravel flew everywhere and blade shadows were everywhere. But after all, two fists are no match for four legs. After a fight, Du Yan's body was constantly cut with wounds, and the healing speed was greatly slowed down. Pain opened its bloody mouth, revealing countless fangs, and attacked Du Yan's head. Du Yan retreated continuously, and a punch with Feng Xiao knocked it away, but a gap appeared in front of his chest, and the hybrid seized the opportunity and stabbed it with a knife. Roar! Du Yan screamed in pain. The hybrid lifted Du Yan into the air, opened his bloody mouth, and bit Du Yan's head without hesitation. Poison flame, use poison mist! Gwen shouted. When Du Yan heard the shouting, he immediately opened his mouth and sprayed out a black mist containing a highly toxic substance, which immediately enveloped the hybrid. The hybrid was hit, and he swung the big knife with the poisonous flame, throwing the poisonous flame away, and he started coughing constantly. The body surface that came into contact with the poisonous mist actually began to melt slightly. That poisonous fog is corrosive. Don't stop, keep using the poison mist to cover them. Du Yan endured the pain of being pierced through and opened his mouth again. Black mist gushed out like crazy, covering an area of more than 10 meters in radius. Now, use fire to ignite the poisonous fog. Gwen continued to direct the movements of the poisonous flame. Du Yan's ability is very powerful, but she is still too young after all, and her combat awareness and qualities have not fully developed. At this time, Gwen played a crucial role. The dark red lines on Du Yan's body lit up, and a flame rushed towards the poisonous fog. Boom! The moment the flames came into contact with the poisonous mist, they directly detonated it. The poisonous mist exploded violently like natural gas. Go! Gwen yelled, drive their car. Du Yan decisively jumped onto the vehicle brought by the hybrid and stepped on the accelerator to flee. Again. Chapter 91. The smoke from the explosion slowly dissipated, revealing the two symbiotes inside. The symbiote looked miserable, having been blown beyond recognition, its clay-like tentacles dancing angrily in the air. After dancing for a while, it finally returned to its original shape. The explosion caused considerable damage to them. When the hybrid looked up, he could only see the red rear end of the car, which was the size of a sesame seed. Damn it, the hybrid roared, then looked towards the pain with a ferocious look. Why are you looking at me? Chase me, he roared fearlessly in pain. Can you catch up with the sports car? The hybrid's tone was cold, suppressing his extreme anger. In a short period of time, their running speed can catch up with a car, but this state cannot last too long, as running at high speed consumes a lot of physical energy. He swallowed his tongue in pain and said, don't worry, that car doesn't have much fuel left. It can't go far. After saying that, without caring what the hybrid thought, he got down on all fours in pain and quickly chased after the poisonous flame. The hybrid saw this and roared, then started running after the pain. Du Yan must die, otherwise the two of them will face the punishment for rioting. This wave of fighting between the symbiotes was completely recorded by the satellite. Hawk, who watched the whole process, breathed a sigh of relief. The situation has improved slightly, but we are not out of danger yet. The toxic flame continued to flee, and the two symbiotes were constantly chasing him. Originally they thought the mission could be completed quickly, but Hybrid and Pain still underestimated the ability of Poison Flame. To be precise, he underestimated Gwen's intelligence. As the sun rose and set, the red sports car had long been abandoned on the road. The big hole in his chest has healed, and Gwen luckily found an abandoned underground gas pipeline and immediately hid in it. However, the Hybrid and Pain detection abilities were not to be underestimated, and they soon discovered Gwen hiding in the gas pipeline. Relying on the intricate gas pipelines, Gwen and the two symbiotes waged a guerrilla war. On the second day of chasing Gwen, Gwen deployed a large amount of poisonous fog, which directly caused another wave of explosions to the two symbiotes. The Hybrid and Pain felt unprecedented pain and anger. On the third day of chasing Gwen, the human settlement sent 2 helicopters to pick up Gwen, but they were all shot up by hybrids equipped with long-range spike weapons. Gwen had to hide in the gas pipeline again. On the 5th day of chasing Gwen, Gwen was unable to dodge and was injured again. However, the two symbiotes were not much better off, both suffered injuries of varying degrees. On the 7th day of chasing Gwen, the irritable riot sent strangulation and screaming for reinforcement. On the same day, the human camp sent out a helicopter again, but the mission failed. The chase and escape took almost half a month. It's not that the human camp is unwilling to support. Carnage and his thousands of symbiotes were stationed less than 100 kilometers outside the city. The human camp could not move south at all unless it used heavy weapons such as missiles. Send out Venom, he's not strong enough. There are 4 elite symbiotes chasing Gwen, and it would be good enough if Venom can defeat even one of them. Going there is just delivering food. 2 or 3 armed helicopters were dispatched for support, but they were all blown up by the symbiote. In desperation, Hawk wanted to use missiles, but someone above him strongly opposed it, saying that resources should not be wasted on a symbiote who might or might not be sincere in his allegiance. This made Hawk very angry. A fool with a big brain who completely fails to understand the importance of poisonous flames. But I have to say that the hybrids are really tenacious. The food on them had long been eaten up, so they caught small animals in the wild to fill their stomachs. Gwen was even more miserable. She could only sneak out and catch the 2 little animals late at night when the symbiote was resting. What a torture! Gwen was speechless. It would originally take a week to reach the Huajin Zhou gathering place, but now it has taken almost 2 weeks, hiding and dodging, to get only 2/3 of the way. No, Gwen, I don't have any strength left. Du Yan said in a weak voice. At the moment, the 2 of them were hiding in a pipe, without a single ray of light. The long period of hunger made Duyan unable to exert any strength. Gwen also felt weak all over, and her little face and clothes were covered with dust. The tense nerves every day made her feel extremely mentally exhausted, and it was her Spider-Woman's physique that kept her going. If it were a normal person, they would have fainted from exhaustion long ago. Can you spray some more poison mist? Gwen asked weakly. Those bastards are no better. They haven't given up after chasing me for so many days. Spray some more poison mist tomorrow and give them another explosion. Okay. Du Yan's voice was filled with sleepiness. Before that, let me get some sleep. After saying this, Du Yan fell silent. As night fell, several symbiotes took a rest at the same time. In the distant universe, at the center of the sun, at the moment a pair of eyes slowly opened. As the sight focused, a cold mechanical voice sounded. Ding, the Silver Superman template has been loaded. Congratulations to the host for successfully evolving. Ding, start the world mission and eliminate the symbiote camp headed by Riot. Mission Reward 1, 20 million reputation points. Mission Reward 2, 1 perfect symbiote, unconscious. The system prompt sounded, and Lin Feng gradually came back to his senses. He moved slightly, trying to fly away from the sun. The ability he just upgraded allowed him to be launched at an extremely fast speed, more than twice as fast as the Man of Steel. Lin Feng came to his senses and stopped, wrapping himself in the black battle suit again. That's it, done? Lin Feng clenched his hands in confusion. As he clenched his fists, an indescribable powerful force burst out, and every cell outputted powerful energy like a nuclear explosion. Wow! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It really worked. This feeling is far beyond what a steel body can compare to. With the help of this power, Lin Feng felt that he could blow up the sun with one punch. He looked back at the sun, his eyes flickering. Maybe, he could really blow it up with one punch. This is just the initial strength. As time goes by, Lin Feng can become stronger with almost no limit. Lin Feng's mind moved, and he quickly shuttled through the universe. His speed effortlessly left the iron body far behind. He cheered excitedly, but unfortunately, no sound could be transmitted in the universe, so his excitement could not be conveyed. Heat ray, freezing breath, super speed, super strength, and other abilities are constantly used, and the strength is greatly improved. When he was in a good mood, Lin Feng even pushed Mars for a walk. At this moment, Lin Feng was as happy as a madman. As if sensing Lin Feng's joy, the dog system jumped out and congratulated him. Congratulations to the host for successfully evolving into a Silver Superman. Hey, dog system! Lin Feng was delighted. The system's words once again confirmed that he is now a Silver Superman. Fortunately, there was no accident this time, otherwise Lin Feng would have vomited 3 liters of blood. It turns out that choosing to evolve in other universes was the right decision. Chapter 92. System, I just heard there is a mission. After a great time, Lin Feng suddenly remembered that he seemed to have heard about a mission when he just woke up. Yes, in this mission the host must eliminate the symbiote camp led by Riot. The system replied. For the specific plot, please refer to Deadly Asgardian, but the difference in this world is that Eddie and Venom failed to stop Riot, and Riot returned to Earth with the symbiote. Now, the symbiotes and humans occupy half of the blue planet. What the host needs to do is to eliminate the symbiote camp. Lin Feng nodded. He had seen the movie Venom and had a general understanding of the plot. He himself had also fantasized about having a symbiote as powerful as Venom. After all, in his opinion, the transformed look of Venom was not only not scary, but also full of violent aesthetics. But now, Silver Superman is still better. And thinking about the venom drilling into his body, Lin Feng couldn't help but shudder, feeling that it was a bit unacceptable. System, can I be possessed by venom? Lin Feng said as he looked through the mission information. Definitely, if you want. But the symbiote won't significantly increase your ability, the system said. Then the symbiote rewarded by the mission is useless. Lin Feng frowned. Why was he rewarded with a useless thing? This was not in line with the style of the system. The host is wrong. The symbiote awarded this time is almost perfect. You can think of it as a large-scale nano battlesuit. It has no self-awareness and is completely controlled by the host's behavior and thoughts. It can even copy your ability and transform into another you to assist in combat. Definitely, the copied ability is not as powerful as the host. Oh? Hearing about the symbiotic properties of the reward, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. If that was true, it wouldn't be impossible to possess the body. How much power can you possess from me? About 50-60%. Lin Feng leaped straight towards the earth without hesitation. Good fellow. What are you waiting for? Let's do the mission. The ability of 50% Silver Superman is stronger than that of Iron Man, okay? This is simply giving Lin Feng a little Iron Man helper. Without using the mind gem to open the portal, Raymond Lam wanted to experience the flight speed of Silver Superman. Even without the mind gem amplification, Lin Feng's speed is already close to sublight speed. If he uses the mind gem, Lin Feng should be able to break through the speed of light. I just don't know if I can go back to the past after breaking the speed of light. After Lin Feng's test, Infinite Gem still has an amplifying effect on the current Silver Superman's body, worthy of being Infinite Gems. It took less than 10 minutes to fly from Mars to Earth, and Lin Feng arrived before he had enough experience. After entering the atmosphere, Lin Feng hovered in the sky and did not reach the ground immediately. Super hearing and supervision cover the entire world, providing an understanding of the current general situation on the blue planet. After some observation, Lin Feng discovered that the current blue planet was indeed as the system had said, with the symbionts occupying almost half of the Earth's land. Under supervision, Lin Feng observed the existence of the gathering place and saw countless humans being raised as tools and food by the symbiotes. This made Lin Feng feel a little angry. He was also a human being, and this sight made him feel somewhat uncomfortable. After all, they are his compatriots. Even if there is no system task, Lin Feng will not ignore them. His gaze kept shifting, and Lin Feng saw Eddie Brock. The familiar appearance was exactly what he had expected, the thug Hardy. He also observed that some symbiotes had joined the human camp, and it seemed that the situation was not too bad. Lin Feng can let this part of the symbiotes go. However, at a glance, the number of symbiotes is very large, and how to eliminate them all is a problem. Lin Feng can kill a symbiote with one punch, it's not difficult at all. But if we fight them one by one, I don't know how long it will take. He kept wondering if Silver Superman had any group attack skills. Using mind gems? There are too many of them, and even if they faint, there's not much point. We still have to kill them one by one. Now if only I could gather all 6 infinite gems, the problem could be solved with a snap of my fingers. Lin Feng touched his chin and felt a little melancholy. For him now, it was easy to destroy Blue Star, but it was difficult to save Blue Star. The Blue Star is now like a dragon fruit. It is very easy to eat it in one bite, but if you ask him to pick out all the black spots. Suddenly, Lin Feng saw an interesting picture, which interrupted his thoughts. On a straight road, several colorful symbiotes were fighting with each other. What Lin Feng was interested in was not the fight between the symbiotes, but the fact that one of the symbiotes had female characteristics and could actually spit out cobweb. Isn't this Spider-Man's skill? Is there still Spider-Man in this world? Oh no! Lin Feng looked at the bulge on his chest as Cobweb symbiote continued to shoot out from his wrist. She should be called Spider-Woman. Take a closer look at the posture, the movement, and the skill of spinning silk with the wrist. Sure enough, it must be Spider-Woman, and a Spider-Woman who is parasitized by a symbiote. At the moment Spider-Woman was fighting with 4 symbiotes. Raymond Lam didn't know what they were called, after all, there was only one Venom and one Riot in the movie. After thinking for a moment, Lin Feng flew straight down. He became interested in Spider-Woman. According to his memory, there were many Spider-Women in Marvel, such as Jessica, Julia, Gwen, and even Aunt May became Spider-Woman in one version. I just don't know which one this Spider-Woman is. Buzz. Raymond Lam's flight was so fast that he arrived at the fighting scene in a short while, and then he did a beautiful superhero-style smash to the ground. The tearing air sounds startled several fighting symbiotes, and their ferocious giant eyes all turned to look at the newcomers. Who is it? The hybrid said sharply. He had never seen a human who could fly. Painfully licking her large tongue, she looked warily at the person coming. Why did she keep sticking out her tongue? Scream stared at Lin Feng closely, as if there was a light flashing in his eyes. The symbiote can sense the strength of humans. The human flying down in front of him is so powerful that it makes him tremble with excitement. I want to change hosts. Screaming, sticking out his tongue and shaking his big head excitedly. This human is more powerful than any other human I have ever seen. After saying that, Scream rushed towards Lin Feng without hesitation. He wanted to strike first and parasitize this powerful human first. He didn't notice that the hybrids had no intention of competing with him for the goods. If he turned around, he would definitely see the human contempt in the eyes that were filled with pain. Idiot! Can't they feel Lin Feng's power? His aura is as huge as a planet. If they act rashly without finding out the depth, there will be no good results. Unfortunately, although Scream is very powerful in their family, his brain is not very useful. Simply put, there's something missing. Looking at the Scream coming towards him, Lin Feng calmly threw a punch. Bang! There was a strong vibration, and an unskilled punch directly created a sonic boom, which plowed a semicircular depression in the asphalt road, extending for dozens of meters. The entire ground looked as if it had been hit by a laser cannon. Scream turned into powder without any reaction from the punch. Chapter 93. This horrifying scene made several symbiotes tremble in fear. Without the slightest hesitation, the hybrid ran away in agony. The aura emitted by Lin Feng had already made them want to retreat, and no one had the confidence that they could withstand a fist as big as a casserole. If you can't win, just run away. After all, life is more important. No, this is not called running away, this is called a tactical retreat. It's to save your life, no need to shiver. Want to run? Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and directly launched the heat ray. The extremely powerful heat ray instantly hit the three symbiotes. Before they even had time to scream, they were crushed into powder by the tremendous energy. Nice. Much stronger than the Man of Steel. Still not as good as the Mind Gem. In the past, the Man of Steel's heat ray could at most pierce through the symbiote. In just less than a minute, the four elite symbiotes turned into dust. Lin Feng is very satisfied with his current strength. Dusting off the non-existent dust, he turned to look at the symbiote that had Spider-Man's skills. Wow, another big bear with explosive body curves. But not as majestic as Wanda. Spider-Woman is indeed Spider-Woman. She didn't even run away when she saw how powerful she was. What's your name? Lin Feng asked. The symbiote was stunned, and the poisonous flames on its body faded away like the tide, revealing a woman, a dirty woman. My name is Gwen. After she finished speaking, the woman's eyes rolled back, she fainted, and fell straight to the ground. Well, it turns out that I didn't stop running, I just didn't have the energy to run. Hearing the faint sound of a woman's heartbeat, Lin Feng understood. It seems that this guy has been on the run for a while, and his white clothes are almost turning black. What did she say her name was? Gwen? Lin Feng touched his chin. He had short golden hair and his name was Gwen. It seems that this version of Spider-Woman should be Gwen Stacy. Hey! Wake up! Lin Feng kicked Gwen's thigh slightly, but there was no response. Gurgle! What's that sound? Lin Feng looked at Gwen's belly. My goodness, he must have fainted from hunger. Lin Feng was speechless because he didn't have any food with him. Forget it, let's send it to the gathering place first. After some gestures, he originally wanted to carry Gwen on his shoulders, but this guy was too dirty and Lin Feng felt a little disgusted. Just hold it in your hand. Huajianzhou gathering place, on top of the metal wall. Eddie is in the state of being possessed by venom and is doing combat training with a group of symbiotes. Most of the hosts of this group of symbiotes are civilians, and their control over their power is almost a mess. Not to mention combat awareness and proficiency, of which there is none at all. We have to rely on these symbiotes to fight against the rebellion camp. Eddie felt tired just thinking about it. Ah! Bell, a short whistle sounded. Venom looked up at the sun that was about to set. He took 2 steps forward and clapped his hands. Okay. It's time for dinner. That's it for today's training. Disband. Ah-ho! Upon hearing the order to disband, the symbiote roared in joy. If there's anything that can make the symbiote happy, besides twisting off something's head, the only thing left is eating. Soon, Eddie and Venom were the only ones left on the training ground. Let's go. Let's go eat too. Venom danced excitedly with his tongue. At this moment, a blue oval water curtain suddenly appeared on the training ground, attracting Venom's attention. What is this? Venom wondered. The next second, a human in a black tights walked out of the water curtain carrying an unconscious woman. Venom took a close look at the man who walked out of the portal, then his body shook and he let out a loud wow. As if he had seen something terrifying, he quickly shrank back into Eddie's body. What's wrong with you? Eddie was puzzled. Run! Eddie! Venom's sharp and thick voice came. This man! He could have twisted my head off with his feet. What is that? Eddie had a face full of question marks. Can Venom's head be twisted off with just his feet? He looked at the man and woman in front of him in surprise. No, that's impossible. Isn't it obvious that this is a human being? Venom, Venom. Venom just pretended to be dead and completely ignored Eddie. This was the first time he saw Venom being so cowardly. He had never been so cowardly even when he was fighting Riot. Eddie Brock, the man who walked out of the portal, spoke. Eddie was stunned. Do you know me? Lin Feng nodded and threw Gwen, who was in his right hand, to the ground. Is there anything to eat? Gwen seems to be fainting from hunger. Yes, definitely. Eddie answered subconsciously. Wait, you said her name was Gwen. Well, if I remember correctly, it should be Gwen Stacy. Lin Feng pointed at Gwen, who was lying on the ground with her butt sticking up. I saw her fainted from hunger on the way here, so I brought her here. Eddie is a little absent-minded. When he came to his senses, Eddie had already brought Lin Feng to the cafeteria, and sitting next to him was Commander Hawk, who had heard the news. Hearing that someone had brought Gwen here was one of the few good news at the moment. Hawk rushed to the scene as soon as possible and met the young man who brought Gwen back. Strong, easygoing, and indifferent, his expression gives people a very strong sense of oppression. Lin Feng didn't care about Hawk's feelings, he was watching the performance from Spider-Woman. Gwen had her eyes closed and was snoring. Behind her, two red tentacles kept grabbing chocolates and other food on the table and stuffing them into their mouths. Lin Feng was amazed and even took out his mobile phone to take a video. Wow, what a unique skill! Seeing how she was enjoying the food, Raymond Lam also took a piece of chocolate and started eating it. The symbiote eats chocolate mainly to supplement phenylethylamine, which is found in both the human brain and chocolate. If you don't eat the brain, you can only eat more chocolate or live seafood. Therefore, the cafeteria basically prepares fresh seafood and large amounts of chocolate for the symbiote. As for Lin Feng, it doesn't matter whether he eats or not, all he needs to do is bask in the Sunday Eddie. Eat hard. Venom urged. Seeing that Lin Feng didn't seem to have any intention of hurting him, he jumped out. Eddie nodded helplessly, grabbed a live lobster and started to eat it. Hawk pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose, the lenses reflecting the light under the lamp, and he was examining Lin Feng. No information related to him was found in the global database. This person seemed to appear out of thin air. But he brought back Gwen Stacy, also known as Toxic Flame, and since he was obviously a human, he shouldn't be a threat. After making a psychological analysis, Hawk asked, "Young man, where are you from?" Lin Feng glanced at him, thought for a while and was about to speak, when the frantically eating Venom suddenly popped up its head and bared its fangs at Hawk. Idiot! Watch the way you talk, this human can kill you with just his eyes. After saying that, Venom turned to look at Lin Feng and immediately put on a flattering expression. Powerful human. Do you need a symbiote? Maybe you don't know the benefits of the symbiote. It can strengthen your abilities. Look at me, what do you think? Venom's self-recommendation made Eddie Brock very upset. Venom! How dare you say that in front of me? Eddie cursed, not even eating the lobster in his hand. Ugh! My poor little Eddie, you are so weak. As weak as the lobster in your hand. Go away, beep him, beep you, beep, 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 beep. Eddie threw the plate and started swearing at Venom. Chapter 94. Lin Feng kept shaking his head as he watched. He had no intention of letting the venom parasitize him. It was a bit disgusting. Well, he couldn't accept the sticky black liquid going into his body. Ignoring them, Lin Feng answered Hawk's question, "It's not convenient for me to tell you where I'm from. But I am not your enemy. I will help you destroy the symbiote." Hawk was called by Eddie. Judging from the position of the mark on his shoulder, it should be quite high. He looks to be in his 30s, but his hair is a little grey. I guess it's because of the symbiote. Just then, a soldier came over with a mobile phone and whispered something in Hawk's ear. Hawk waved him off and then looked at his phone. This sight made Hawk's jaw drop. Satellite surveillance captured images of Raymond Lam's flight and the destruction of the symbiote. The satellite that Hawk applied for has been filming the area where the poisonous flame is located. Lin Feng flew down from the universe, and the whole process of solving the symbiote with just 3 punches and 2 kicks was recorded. It can fly, and it flies very fast with great strength. The wind from its punches can crush the symbiote into powder, and its eyes can even emit lasers. He doesn't look like a normal human being at all. The video was very short. Hawk watched it 2 or 3 times. The last time he pushed up his glasses, his expression more serious than ever before. Are you an alien? It's no wonder Hawk thought too much. Symbiotes are creatures from aliens, and it's completely reasonable for him to suspect that Lin Feng is an alien. Have you ever seen a human being who can shoot lasers from his eyes? Hawk's question made Lin Feng pause with his hand holding the chocolate. If you think so, it should be about the same. Lin Feng's calm answer made Hawk's pupil shrink. It's really an alien. Base. Hawk stood up and stood at attention, somewhat worried about what etiquette to use to welcome his alien friends. In the end, he could only bow with a serious expression and then extend his right hand. Welcome. Alien friend. Lin Feng opened his mouth with a dull expression. I subconsciously shook hands with Hawk. Is it so formal? Mr. Lin Feng, please follow me. I think my superiors would be happy to see you. Hawk bent down slightly and invited him. This video fully proved that Lin Feng was most likely an alien visitor. And unlike the symbiote, he has not shown any malice towards Blue Star, or humans. Instead, he helped them eliminate 3 symbiote elites as soon as he arrived. The ability displayed by Raymond Lam in the picture is completely that of a human-shaped self-propelled missile, and it is not known whether Raymond Lam has any companions. If he has multiple companions, then the symbiote will no longer be a threat to humans. After hearing this, Lin Feng waved his hands, forget about meeting your superior. I'm only here to help you eliminate the symbiote. I have no interest in your superiors. This. Hawk showed an embarrassed expression. Lin Feng thought for a moment and evaded the question, my race is not used to exchanges and communication. I will go back after helping you solve the symbiote. He had no interest in arguing with those Z guests. If he hadn't seen Spider-Woman and she happened to faint, he probably wouldn't have shown up at the gathering place. Hawk nodded, I understand. Then please stay here for a few days, we will make a detailed battle plan. Since Raymond Lam said so, Hawk felt that they should respect the customs of this alien so as not to cause a bad influence on their alien friends. Lin Feng nodded and agreed to stay temporarily. He also needed time to think about how to catch all the symbiotes in one fell swoop. Seeing Lin Feng agreed, Hawk breathed a sigh of relief, expressed his apology and left quickly. He is going to report the current situation to his superiors. Lin Feng was munching on chocolate, watching Gwen and Venom's performance boredly. Venom was still arguing with Eddie, and the symbiotes around them were busy eating, not daring to look at them. If my host wasn't a BD like you, I would have beeped, beeped, beeped and swallowed their heads a long time ago. I am the boss of the symbiote. Lin Feng, who was originally watching the show, paused while eating the chocolate. A flash of inspiration came to his mind. Venom, will your symbiote become more powerful by devouring its own kind? Hearing Lin Feng's question, Venom, who was still arguing with Eddie, immediately changed his expression and became like a silly husky. Yes, Lord Lin Feng. Venom already knew Lin Feng's name during the conversation. Although it is taboo for us symbiotes to devour our own kind, devouring our own kind will allow us to gain the abilities of the devoured companions, and our strength will also be enhanced. Bang! Lin Feng slammed the table. I thought to myself, wow, how could I have forgotten this characteristic of the symbiote? Then things would be simple. A super simple and practical solution appeared in Lin Feng's mind. Venom will become stronger when it devours the symbiote and gain new abilities. Then why not just capture a bunch of symbiotes and let Venom swallow them? Let him become the most powerful leader to replace Riot, isn't that enough? In this way, all the symbiotes will obey Venom, and there is no need to kill all of them. Wouldn't it be better to invest the remaining symbiotes into social construction? The power of the symbiote is so strong that one person can do the work of 10 people carrying bricks on the construction site. What's more, the symbiote only needs to eat chocolate and doesn't even need to be paid. Lin Feng stared at Venom. The more he thought about it, the brighter his vision became, and Venom's scalp went numb. Master Lin Feng. Have you finished eating? Lin Feng interrupted. Have you finished your dinner? Eat, I'm done. Venom drooled, looked at the half lobster in his hand, and said against his will. It's good that you've finished eating. Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction. Venom. Transform. Big Brother will take you to upgrade. Oh. Venom roared with full energy, and the black substance instantly wrapped around Eddie Brock. Eddie, Don't you even ask me what I want? Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and the venom slowly floated up. Psychokinesis. An ability that Raymond Lam just developed. He also couldn't understand why he suddenly understood how to use psychokinesis. Originally this was not a Superman ability, but one of the characteristics of Silver Superman was that he could develop all kinds of strange abilities based on his own needs. Even in the comics, Superman Silver can shrink himself to the size of an ant. To be honest, the development of psychokinesis is thanks to player Gwen. Lin Feng thought her clothes were dirty and didn't want to touch her, so he wondered if he could use psychokinesis to lift her up. Hey, guess what? I suddenly learned it. Gwen was left alone to perform, sleep, and eat, while Raymond Lam, wrapped in venom, flew directly to an altitude of 10,000 meters. Venom. Show me the direction. I'll take you to level up to 100 today. The venom-excited tongue was out of control, and its sharp fingers formed a medium-sized gathering place, and then the man and the beast crossed the sky like a cannonball. Chapter 95. The symbiote gathering place north of Huajin continent has encountered an unprecedented disaster. A human in a black battlesuit came down carrying one of their kind. I thought it was food brought by my own kind, but as soon as the food landed, it turned out to be a big bee bag without saying a word, which directly beat an elite companion half to death. Then the elite was swallowed up by their own kind, and licked its tongue with satisfaction. The symbiotes who had never seen the world were all stunned. In panic, they could only launch a group attack on this ferocious food, but what disappointed them was that the sharp claws that were usually invincible could not even cut the other person's clothes. The food acted as if nothing had happened, and slapped the symbiotes present one after another with their big bee bags, making them all feel frightened and terrified. Eat! Lin Feng ordered excitedly. Eat as much as you can. Pick up the best ones to eat. As he spoke, Lin Feng specifically targeted the symbiotes with strong auras. Those ordinary symbiotes have no edible value. Escaped. Lin Feng also hopes that they will be relied on to carry bricks for urban construction in the future. With the help of Raymond Lam, Venom started the self-help mode. He attacked with both hands, constantly grabbing the elite symbiotes that had been fanned into tentacle shapes and putting them into his mouth. Venom's eyes were red with excitement. When had he ever experienced such an exciting scene? When had he ever felt so majestic? At this moment, Venom is the most handsome cub among the symbiotes. The poor ordinary symbiote lay on the ground trembling, unable to speak out. All they can do is watch the venom devour its own kind. However, the excitement came and went quickly. After showing off to more than a dozen symbiotes, Venom died. He overestimates his ability to eat. When it came to the 7th and 8th ones, Venom's speed of showing off his fans became slower and slower. It wasn't until a dozen elite symbiotes had eaten the venom that they felt the venom sticking to their throats. I couldn't help but kneel on the ground and retched. Lin Feng looked at Venom with confusion at first, then turned to contempt. He saw that the venom had been taken. You useless thing! You can't even take it after eating a few. We agreed to reach level 100 today. Brother! I need to digest it. Venom panted heavily. The huge amount of energy was running around in his body, and new skills constantly emerged, making Venom's brain a little confused. He needed to sort it out. It's not his fault. He has never eaten so many symbiotes at once. Who knew he would have to digest them? Lin Feng stopped what he was doing and frowned. It's a bit difficult to stop eating after only eating a dozen or so. You can only eat a dozen a day? How long will it take to finish them? Lin Feng looked around and saw that all the symbiotes, whether elite or ordinary, were lying on the ground trembling, not even daring to run away. The last one who escaped was hit to death by this terrible devil with his eyes. Well, he's not human at all. He's scarier than the riot leader. At least the riot leader doesn't shoot lasers from his eyes. You wait here. Lin Feng ordered after a little thought. As he spoke, Lin Feng opened a portal that led directly to the human gathering place. It was still the small cafeteria. Gwen had woken up. While she was asleep, Duyan had been eating non-stop and replenished a lot of her lost energy. Now she was touching her slightly bulging belly with a look of satisfaction on her face. Gwen! Hey! Gwen subconsciously turned her head when she heard someone calling her. It's you. It was the man I saw during the day. Du Yan said that he was the one who brought me to the gathering place. She was deeply impressed by Lin Feng's strength. The hybrids were as weak as ants in Lin Feng's hands. It's a pity that I didn't live up to expectations. I fainted after reporting my name. It was really embarrassing. Lin Feng hummed, then asked, "Are you full?" Gwen touched her belly in confusion. I'm full, why are you asking this suddenly? It's good that you're full. Where's your symbiote? Call it out quickly, there's good news. Lin Feng urged. As soon as he finished speaking, red liquid oozed out and instantly enveloped Gwen, turning her back into the explosive poisonous flame she was during the day. Are you calling me? Du Yan asked doubtfully. The strength of the human in front of her made her feel a little scared. She didn't know why he wanted to find her, but she hoped it wasn't something bad. Du Yan couldn't help but think of Lin Feng's one-sided killing during the day. Oh my symbiote grandma, I can't even take a punch from him. Come. Brother will help you upgrade. Lin Feng grabbed Du Yan and dragged him into the portal under her puzzled gaze. Change of sight. Wow. It's a symbiote gathering place. Du Yan's pupils shrank and doubts arose in his heart. I finally escaped from the gathering place, how come this human brought me back again? However, upon closer inspection, Du Yan discovered that the symbiotes here were behaving strangely and were all lying on the ground. Venom looked very strange kneeling in the middle of a symbiote. Everyone else was lying down, but he was the only one kneeling on the ground, retching. Venom. What's wrong with you? Du Yan asked in confusion. Before Venom could answer, a loud bang was heard in his ears. Venom was so scared that he turned around and saw Lin Feng punching an elite symbiote into a tentacle state. Come. Eat. Lin Feng excitedly picked up the tentacle, pried open the big mouth of the poisonous flame and stuffed it in. Du Yan was stunned for a moment. The tentacles kept jumping on her fangs. She licked her tongue and swallowed it subconsciously. For a moment, the symbiote was devoured, and new skills and powers burst out, poison flame strengthening +1. Wow! Du Yan's eyes sparkled and he clenched his fists, I seem to have become stronger. In an instant, Du Yan suddenly realized what Lin Feng meant by upgrade. Before Du Yan could express her thoughts, Lin Feng stuffed another symbiote into her mouth. Du Yan excitedly swallowed it again in one gulp, not feeling ashamed at all about being fed. However, this feeding soon made Du Yan feel something was wrong. The second one. The third one. The fourth one. Until the 12th. Du Yan, who was experiencing severe stomach discomfort, finally understood why Venom was kneeling on the ground and retching. Because she is doing the same thing now. Really? I'm so full, I've never eaten so full before. If you ask Du Yan what he is thinking at the moment, Du Yan will tell you that it is painful and happy. So full, but so happy. It was late at night before Lin Feng returned to the gathering place in Huajianzhou with two guys with full bellies. It devoured too many of its own kind at once, and its power roamed around its body, occasionally forming a big bubble and then slowly disappearing. After leaving it to the logistics soldier, Lin Feng no longer cared about them. He went straight back to the room Hawk had arranged for him and went to sleep. The younger brother and younger sister were not very good. They ate less than 50 elite symbiotes in one night, and each of them ate only 20 in total. Too slow, still too slow. Raymond Lam scratched his fingernails. Maybe I should bring some laxatives with me. Tomorrow. Chapter 96. The next morning, Lin Feng met Eddie and Gwen again in the cafeteria. The two were enjoying breakfast happily. Although nearly half of the land is occupied by symbiotes, this is not a zombie apocalypse, and there will be no shortage of food and water. The base has sufficient supplies of 3 meals a day and the living standards remain the same. After grabbing some food, Lin Feng sat down between the two of them. Big brother. Eddie greeted him with some awe. Venom poked his head out from behind him and greeted Lin Feng enthusiastically. Even though he ate too much last night, one night was enough for Venom to integrate new abilities. After consuming more than 20 elite symbiotes, Venom's physical fitness was directly improved by 2 or 3 times, and he also mastered several new skills. He was so happy. Lin Feng. I didn't have time to say thank you to you yesterday. Thank you for saving me. Gwen was very polite and called Du Yan out to thank her together. Lin Feng glanced at Gwen and hummed, but his expression looked a little strange. Eat more eggs. Lin Feng said as he picked up an egg and placed it on Gwen's plate. He couldn't understand why after Gwen turned back from the symbiote state, Big Bear shrunk by half. Could there be fakes of this thing? Lin Feng ate 2 eggs in a row, but he didn't understand. Forget it, if you can't figure it out, just stop thinking about it. Glancing at the dinner plates in front of Gwen and Eddie, they were mostly empty. Lin Feng drank some water to moisten his throat and asked, "Are you full?" The two men paused with their forks in their hands and swallowed their saliva in unison. Cold sweat started to flow down uninvited. Big brother. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. "Can you eat slower today?" Gwen echoed from the side, nodding her little head rapidly. "What happened to me at that time?" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. "No problem. You have a whole day to eat today. Don't worry about getting an upset stomach, I prepared this for you." Lin Feng took out a large medicine bottle and slapped it on the table. There was a line of big English words on it, laxative. Gwen and Eddie both took a breath. "You are a devil. I've never seen a symbiote that can poop." It seems that today is another happy upgrade day. But just when Lin Feng was about to open the portal, a voice called him. "Mr. Lin Feng, please wait." Hawk found Lin Feng with a document in his hand and dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. "We have developed a preliminary and specific attack plan based on your ability. Mr. Lin Feng." Hawk respectfully handed the document in his hand to Lin Feng. "This is a preliminary plan that was worked out after an all-night meeting last night, which ended at dawn. Take a look first. If you have other abilities, please let me know so we can adjust the plan." Hawk's tone was very polite. This was a big shot from the universe. If Lin Feng hadn't been unwilling to meet his superior, he would probably have been surrounded by a bunch of big guys by now. Lin Feng nonchalantly took the 1 centimeter thick plan. The thickness made Lin Feng speechless. "You call this a plan?" I casually flipped through 2 pages, and sure enough, it was all long, boring nonsense, the kind that even a dog would shake his head after reading. Throwing the plan on the table, Lin Feng shook his head. "I have a better plan." "Oh." Hawk sat down straight and said in a serious tone, "I'm all ears." They only have one video as a reference for Lin Feng's ability, and Lin Feng just appeared yesterday. Maybe Lin Feng has other unknown abilities that can wipe out all the symbiotes in a short time. Lin Feng peeled another egg and slowly told him the solution he had thought of last night. It is nothing more than supporting 2 symbiotes with extraordinary martial power and making all other symbiotes submit to them. This way, we can minimize human losses and gain a lot of muscular men who are beneficial to social construction. It fully complies with the reasonable use of recyclable resources and is clean and cheap. As Lin Feng spoke, Hawk's eyes became brighter. Even when you hear something exciting, you will clap and cheer. He hadn't thought that the symbiote had the ability to devour its own kind and evolve. Venom and the others had never mentioned this. And according to Lin Feng's plan, as long as they have chocolate, the symbiote will be the cheapest and most powerful labor force. However, Hawk also had some questions. Why didn't Lin Feng just let Venom swallow Riot? In this way, wouldn't Venom naturally become the new leader? Hawk asked the question in his mind, and in return he received a look of contempt from Lin Feng. Just swallowing one Riot, the ability strengthening is not that much. Lin Feng explained patiently. I want a symbiote that can fight 10,000. And by swallowing up Riot, the symbiote has lost its leader. Without a leader, there is a high probability that a riot will occur. If they attack human settlements at the cost of their lives, can you withstand it? Hawk broke out in a cold sweat after hearing these words. Well, he hadn't considered it. He is a military general and he is good at fighting, but when it comes to strategies, he is the kind that even a dog would shake his head at. Then I'll leave everything to you, Mr. Lin Feng. If you need anything, just let us know. We will do our best to help you. After saying that, Hawk ran away in shame with a red face. It was shameful. After seeing Hawk off, Lin Feng picked up the 2 enemies, one in each hand, and started the task of upgrading his meal again. However, when Lin Feng rushed to the gathering place of the symbiotes last night, he found that the place was deserted. The symbiotes moved away overnight and moved to other gathering places. Lin Feng left them with an indelible psychological shadow. The symbiotes are such a powerful race, how could they have ever suffered such a great injustice? But this is not a problem for Lin Feng at all. If there is no gathering place in this place, can't he just go to the next one? In this way, Lin Feng transformed into a devil, constantly sweeping the gathering places of the symbiotes. Countless elite symbiotes faced devastating disasters. After eating it for a few days, venom and poison flame sizes swelled dramatically. This was a side effect of not being able to fully control their energy. It was estimated that after being completely digested, they would be able to return to their previous size. What makes Lin Feng happy is that as the ability increases, the number of symbiotes that venom and toxic flame can devour every day increases sharply. Within a few days, the 2 symbiotes devouring limit exceeded 100 per day. Venom and Venom Flame have also gained unprecedented strengthening. Now even if Riot comes, he can't beat either of them. As expected, devouring evolution is the fastest way for the symbiote to become stronger. Chapter 97. With the proactive attacks of Lin Feng and his 2 younger brothers, the human settlement achieved victory again and again. With Raymond Lam's consent, Hawk released some of Raymond Lam's footage. For a long time, the citizens in the gathering place have been living under mental pressure, and the threat from the symbiote has made countless people frown. Putting these images out there will greatly increase their self-confidence and help stimulate positive emotions. Hawk's move had a huge positive effect. In the picture, Lin Feng, with 2 symbiotes from the same camp, is like a god descending from heaven, destroying one symbiote gathering place after another. All the leaders had their heads bitten off, and the rest were locked up together awaiting their fate. This is the first time that humans have possessed such a powerful force that can almost crush the symbiote. The symbiote camp was losing ground, giving everyone hope. No one wants to hide behind high walls all day, living a miserable life. In the gathering place, people spontaneously printed portraits of Lin Feng, and everyone was given one, and they even called him a god from heaven. Even the materials are ready, just waiting for the moment when Lin Feng kills Riot to make a statue for him. If they didn't know that Lin Feng didn't like to be disturbed, countless girls would have been on their way to Lin Feng's room. However, Lin Feng was unaware of what was happening in the gathering place. He is now happily eating at one restaurant and another with his 2 younger brothers. If it weren't for the need to digest, he wouldn't even go back to Lin Feng base. He and his 2 younger brothers were having a great time eating, but the rioters were already furious. With the disappearance of a large number of elite symbiotes, Riot's 2 big white eyes were almost turning red with anger. There are new surprises every day. His big silver head was in terrible pain. I have no idea where that human came from. He actually fed his own people to those 2 traitors. According to the information continuously sent back by the tribesmen, Venom and Poison Flame are now much stronger than himself. Not to mention that crazy human whose eyes can shoot lasers. If we continue to let them eat like this, the symbiote community will be humiliated. Riot shouted everyone around him away, and he was the only one left in the huge space. According to the current situation, his plan to occupy Blue Star can almost be said to have failed. Lin Feng's strength is too strong and his actions are extremely fast. Even if Lin Feng does not take action now, he can easily intimidate the symbiote community with just the venom and poisonous flames. It's time to use that thing. Riot took out a small transparent bottle, his big upside-down eyes full of awe. The bottle contained a small pool of black fluid. This is his trump card, which comes from his ancestor. To be precise, the group of symbiotes was created by Null. And Null himself is the god of darkness. He has the ability to create, control and manipulate dark source symbiotes. When the universe was still empty and void, Null was sleeping in darkness. It was not until the cosmic gods began to create all things that Nar was awakened. He questioned the Celestials and did not accept their so-called creations. Finally, Nar took out the Black Decay Blade from the shadows and killed a member of the Celestials. And that Black Decayed Blade is the ancestor of all symbiotes. The Black Blade can gain powerful strength through the blood of God and can create countless duplications. The small piece of black fluid that Riot took out was exactly a tiny part of the Black Decayed Blade. Even with this tiny part, the ability of the Riot can be increased to an unprecedented level. The venom, the poisonous flames, and that nasty food, will all cost you. Riot opened the bottle cap and drank it in one gulp. In an instant, countless black threads shot out from Riot's body, and he couldn't help but roar in pain. Black threads constantly intertwined in the air, with the Riot as the center, binding it layer by layer. The black fog filled the entire area, and before long, only a giant black cocoon was left at the site of the Riot. The moment the black cocoon took shape, black mist, accompanied by a heart-pounding and terrifying atmosphere, enveloped the entire Garcia city. Whether it is the captive humans or the symbiote, negative emotions such as fear and despair arise uncontrollably in their hearts. Venom and Poison Flame, thousands of miles away, stopped eating at the same time. Lin Feng noticed their abnormality. What's wrong? Why don't you eat? Brother, I can feel that the Riot is evolving. Du Yan agreed, and the evolution is extremely rapid. Venom and Poison Flame could feel that Riot's aura and strength were rising rapidly. The speed of his ascent was so terrifying that he surpassed himself in just a few minutes. It's unbelievable. Lin Feng touched his chin. Could it be that the riots are beginning to engulf our own kind as well? Du Yan shook his head and denied it. It's impossible. It's impossible to evolve so quickly by devouring one's own kind. Venom said to Lin Feng with some concern, I can feel that the riot has surpassed us, and is constantly getting stronger. Brother, what should we do? Lin Feng did not speak. His supervision passed over countless buildings and he saw the city of Garcia shrouded in black fog. The black fog could not block Lin Feng's sight. In a moment, Lin Feng caught sight of the huge amounts of black cocoon seeds. It is the riot of evolution. The black cocoon seemed to be able to block the line of sight, making Lin Feng unable to see what was going on inside. Oh! Lin Feng found it very interesting. He narrowed his eyes and took it seriously for a moment. The black cocoon immediately turned translucent, and Lin Feng saw Riot sleeping inside. His body was covered with blood, as if the cocoon was transmitting nutrients to him. After observing for a while, Lin Feng withdrew his gaze expressionlessly. Don't be afraid, just continue eating and don't worry about the riot. Lin Feng ordered. The two younger brothers were stunned, hesitated for a moment, and still followed Lin Feng's order. Lin Feng's nonchalant attitude made them a little worried. They had never seen Lin Feng's specific strength, nor did they know whether Lin Feng could stop the riot. Now the only thing the two can do is to eat as much as possible and become stronger. Thinking of this, the two of them ate even faster. They were going to eat 200 of them today. Lin Feng looked at this scene and nodded with satisfaction. Indeed, the atmosphere of riot was constantly rising, reaching a terrifying speed and intensity. Even the aura of evolution constantly enveloped and corroded the entire city of Garcia. However, Lin Feng was not worried at all that things would get out of his control. No matter how fast or strong the riot evolves, there is a limit. Unfortunately, Lin Feng could sense this limit. Lin Feng could clearly see the energy limit of the cocoon species. It is estimated that it will only take 2 days for the riot to break out. As for the strength of riot after its evolution, Lin Feng said haha. Is there any difference between ants and grasshoppers to humans? Isn't it just a step to death? Let the riots run their course for a while. It would be enough for these two little brothers to eat a few hundred more. Just after dinner, we went together to kill the evolved riot, and then he could complete the task and go home to sleep. Chapter 98. 2 days passed quickly. On this day, Lin Feng did not take his two younger brothers out to eat and drink, but came to the outskirts of Garcia City. The two younger brothers swallowed thousands of elite symbiotes, and their strength increased several times. But now Venom and Poison Flame are just two fat balloons. Too much energy is accumulated and cannot be digested, making the body look very bloated. Fortunately, Raymond Lam has a complete weight loss plan that can be implemented soon. Today's Venom and Poison Flames can resist missiles without any damage, and can even chew up missiles. The next step is to get rid of Riot, and then let Venom or Venom Fire become the leader of the symbiote. The city of Garcia was still shrouded in black fog, but unlike the previous 2 days, the black fog had become very thin. This phenomenon indicates that the riot is about to break out. Sure enough, the waiting time was not long, and the black fog suddenly gathered towards the city center at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Feng understood in his heart, it seems that the riot evolution is over. The next second, there was a muffled bang in the city center, followed by a deafening roar. Sharp, angry, and noisy, it brought slight vibrations, shattering countless window glasses and a large number of symbiote minions. Without saying a word, Lin Feng and Venom were teleported directly to a high-rise building in the city center. The riot was happening right below this tall building. After the evolution, Riot's body size increased several times, and when he stood up he was as tall as a 3-story building. The originally silver appearance turned black and red, 2 sharp spikes grew on its head, and its tongue became thicker and longer. This new image is very interesting to Raymond Lam, and it looks like a little monster in a special drama. Riot noticed Lin Feng's arrival. He turned his head and saw Lin Feng and 2 of his clansmen standing on the roof of a building. Traitor! Riot roared, his eyes flashing across venom and poisonous flames, and finally stopped coldly on Lin Feng. Although it was the first time they met, he recognized Lin Feng at a glance and recognized that he was the culprit who caused the drastic reduction in the number of elite members of the same clan. The powerful aura vaguely emanating from Lin Feng frightened him. Integrating a bit of the ancestors' power, the riot became extremely powerful, and it was even difficult to control the powerful force that was overflowing at any time. But he still felt fear from Lin Feng. "Humans, why do you want to go against our kind?" Riot asked in a sharp voice. A question mark appeared on Lin Feng's forehead. "Go against you?" This question almost made Lin Feng laugh. "Didn't you come to Blue Star and try to occupy it? Have you evolved so much that your IQ has gone? You are the only ones allowed to kill, and humans are not allowed to resist. Didn't I see that you are still a double standard?" Riot was silent for a second. This human was talking so fast. "Humans are too weak. It is your honor to dedicate your lives to the great symbiote family." "It's my honor, NM. What a bullshit theory." Riot's remarks made Lin Feng frown. He felt that there was nothing to say to Riot, an old double standard. Turning his head, he said, "Venom, go ahead. Use a big bee bag to wake him up." Venom opened his mouth and pointed at his nose. Can I do it?" The Riot now had a terrifying aura all over his body, and it was obviously not something he could deal with. "You can do it, believe me." Lin Feng winked, hinting at something. "Oh." Venom nodded thoughtfully and chose to believe Lin Feng. With a howl, Venom rushed out. Although it is as fat as a ball, the speed of its venom is still several times faster than it was 3 days ago. "Traitor!" Looking at the Venom rushing towards him, Riot growled angrily and his arms turned into sharp barbs to meet Venom. Logically speaking, on the blue planet, due to a series of reasons including gravity and air resistance, the larger the animal, the slower it moves. However, the evolved Riot goes against common sense, its speed is much faster than Venom. Snap! The violent attack inexplicably stopped in mid-air. Venom used a big bee bag to hit Riot in the face smoothly. It doesn't hurt that much. After all, the defense and combat effectiveness increase sharply after Riot evolves. However, this big bee bag is not very harmful but extremely insulting. Roar! Riot's expression was distorted, and he could feel that his attack was forcibly fixed in mid-air. "It's you." He glared at Lin Feng with murderous eyes. "It must be this human's doing." Lin Feng yawned and admitted openly, "Yes, it's me. You are so weak that I can't muster the slightest interest in you. But it's still good to use it as a training ground for my 2 younger brothers." After hearing these words, Riot almost exploded on the spot. This human! Even more arrogant and presumptuous than him. "Human! Die!" Riot rushed towards Lin Feng angrily, but the next second, his entire huge body stopped in mid-air. The angry eyes gradually turned into confusion, anger, and astonishment. He didn't understand, this human was too weird. Without any movement, he was frozen in mid-air. Why, even after assimilating a bit of the power of the ancestor, he still couldn't see through the strength of this human. Lin Feng chuckled and ordered Venom and Poison Flame beside him, "Go. Both of you go. I've eaten so much these past few days, so I need to digest my skills and understanding of my strength. Don't worry, Big Brother will protect you, he can't hurt you." After saying that, Lin Feng removed psychokinesis, allowing Venom, Poison Flame, and Riot to fight each other. This is the weight loss plan he made for his 2 drug-minded younger brothers. Even if it riots after evolution, Lin Feng can stomp it to death with 1 foot, but using it to help his younger brother lose weight, isn't it better to recycle the waste? In addition, Lin Feng has another plan. The symbiote can reproduce by simply splitting its body, and letting the split part attach itself to other living things. He wants a Venom clone, definitely, and a Toxic Blaze clone as well. Although he doesn't use it himself, he can take it back for the Avengers Alliance or people around him to use. Lin Feng still understands the principle that you can never have too much of good things. Definitely, this requires Venom and Poison Flame to fully digest the energy and master the many skills obtained by integrate. Otherwise, Lin Feng felt that this state of split derivative was not good enough. There is probably nothing on Blue Star that can suppress these 2 guys, and Lin Feng is too powerful. All in all, the evolved Riot is simply the best. Fit. Chapter 99. Lin Feng took out a set of small table and chairs from somewhere, sat there, and drank tea. From time to time, I looked at the 3 symbiotes fighting below, and psychokinesis helped me to resist the fatal damage. It's like watching a 3D movie, so enjoyable. This scene was transmitted verbatim by satellite to the conference room of the human gathering place. There was constant discussion about Lin Feng in the conference room. Next to Hawk, a big man turned his head and asked him, "Is this alien really okay?" Hawk had cold sweat on his head, and he was a little confused about Lin Feng's operation. "Yes, it should be fine." "So what is he doing now?" The boss pointed at the screen and asked. On the screen, Lin Feng was sitting with his legs crossed and drinking tea leisurely. Hawk chose to remain silent. In this situation, human settlements can only watch passively and can do nothing to help. In the center of Garcia City, there were constant beast-like roars and sounds of smashing buildings. The three symbiotes have been fighting for an hour. The ordinary symbiotes huddled in the building and trembled, not daring to move forward for fear of implicated others. Lin Feng's idea was right. After an hour of fighting, Venom and Venom Flame had obviously lost a lot of weight. Energy is constantly absorbed and digested during actual combat. Apart from anything else, the movements were much faster. Looking back at the riots, this battle was extremely frustrating, unprecedentedly frustrating. He has never felt so miserable since he was born. The two traitors in the tribe constantly used me as a training target, and from time to time there was a devilish human who restricted my movements. The traitor, who could have been killed with 2 slaps, fought with him for an hour. Roar! The riot roared unwillingly. "It's humiliating, so humiliating." Countless tentacles extended from his back, covering the sky and stabbing towards the devil-like culprit. However, as expected, all the attacks were blocked by an invisible film. This was not the first time that Riot had launched a surprise attack on Lin Feng, and every time it had failed. "Brother! I'm out of strength!" Venom roared while fighting. An hour of continuous fighting made him extremely hungry, and the movements of his hands slowed down. Without paying attention, they were stabbed through by Riot again. Fortunately, the symbiote has the self-healing ability. Because Venom and Venom Fire have devoured too many symbiotes, their self-healing ability is even stronger. Lin Feng glanced down and saw that the two younger brothers were both out of breath and their dodging movements were a little slow. "Don't panic, both of you come up and have a cup of tea." Lin Feng used psychokinesis to imprison Riot again, then took out 2 2-liter teacups and threw in a few leaves of the Tree of Life. Venom jumped up, opened his big mouth, and poured in the leaves along with it. "Hoo-hoo! After drinking the tea, my strength recovered at an extremely fast speed. I didn't expect that my brother had such a good thing." Du Yan also drank a cup of tea, and his physical strength and energy recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and even the healing speed of his wounds doubled. Lin Feng was very satisfied when he saw the two of them had lost a lot of weight. Unable to help but pat Du Yan's muscular chest muscles, shoulders, Lin Feng said, "All right. Keep fighting. It will be hard to find a sparring partner this good in the future. Seize the opportunity and completely absorb the devoured energy." "Oh!" Venom and Du Yan roared with full energy, jumped down the building and continued to attack Riot. Lin Feng sat back on the stool and just watched them fight in boredom. From morning to afternoon, from day to night. When I felt tired, I would run upstairs to have a cup of tea, and then continue to fight the riots. With Lin Feng's supply of tea, physical strength is fully guaranteed. The fight lasted until late at night, and even the evolved Riot felt tired. On the other hand, Venom and Venom Flame are still in high spirits. At the moment their body shapes have completely changed into another one. The huge body was reduced by more than 2 times in size, and even more slender than before it devoured its own kind. How to say it, it was like a coat put on Eddie and Gwen. Yes, just like Spider-Man's battle suit, very thin, but full of power. A new form, a new power, the two of them perfectly absorbed the expanding energy after being tempered by the Riot. Feeling that he had absorbed almost everything, Lin Feng stood up and clapped his hands. "Well, it looks like you've mastered a whole new power. The Riot has no need to exist anymore. Who will come to swallow him up? Now that all the energy has been absorbed, there is no need for the Riot to exist anymore. Not to mention that the Riot only devoured a trace of the ancestor's energy. Even if his ancestor came in person, he would still be scared when he saw the Silver Superman." Venom and Poison Flame looked at each other, and after a brief exchange, they agreed to let Venom swallow. The overall strength of the evolved Venom Flame is much higher than that of Venom. After all, her host is Spider-Woman Gwen. As the host, he killed almost all the symbiotes instantly. Both knew that whoever consumed Riot would be the leader of the symbiote. Gwen didn't have this idea, she just wanted to be a good neighbor quietly. "Okay, you decide." Lin Feng nodded indifferently. For him, it doesn't matter who devours the Riot, it won't affect his mission at all. Psychokinesis has once again befallen Riot. The violent figure came to a sudden stop again and just stayed where he was. Listening to their conversation, Riot also knew that his life was coming to an end. He stared at Lin Feng with extremely vicious and hateful eyes. The originally successful invasion plan all failed because of the appearance of this human. Damn human, I curse you! The Riot screamed miserably. I curse you! Base. Before he could utter a word, Riot's huge head was blown to pieces by a laser. So much nonsense! Lin Feng smacked his lips, not intending to leave any last words for the Riot. Controlling the frequency of the heat ray, constantly hitting Riot's body, within a moment, Riot's body had become the size of a human being, and had turned into a pool of randomly flying fluid, and even its human form could no longer be maintained. Venom, go! Lin Feng ordered. Oh! Venom rushed forward excitedly, grabbed the muddy Riot and stuffed it into his mouth. The evolved Riot can take Venom's ability to a new level. Although it is still not good enough for Lin Feng, he can be said to be the strongest existence after the ancestor of the symbiote. After swallowing Riot whole, Venom's body grew larger again, but it was still within the controllable range and did not swell like a ball like before. The energy attacked Venom's body wantonly, forming bulges on the surface of the body from time to time, and then dissipated. The swallowed Riot will continue to exist in the Venom's body in the form of energy, and will be slowly digested and integrated until it disappears completely. This time won't be too long. Chapter 100. And Riot's death was perceived by all the symbiotes on the blue planet in an instant. For a moment, all the symbiotes were in chaos and kept roaring. Upon seeing this, Venom rushed up the building and shouted angrily. Invisible sound waves quickly spread out, and the restless symbiotes slowly calmed down. This roar contained a hint of information. A new leader has appeared, his name is Venom, and he is even more powerful than Riot. The Riot was resolved and the moon was already high in the sky. Lin Feng took his two younger brothers and opened a portal, returning to the gathering place. Their return was greeted with warm cheers from the residents of the gathering place. When they learned that the symbiote leader Riot had been killed by his alien friends and Venom, although it was the middle of the night, thunderous cheers rang out in the gathering place. Hawk was also so excited that tears flowed down his face as he welcomed Lin Feng and the others back. What a friendly and powerful alien friend! In just a few days, they resolved the disaster of invading the blue planet. Lin Feng's appearance and the demise of the Riots were just like a dream. Before they could react, humans won. If you have an alien friend like this, you must hold his thighs tightly. Lin Feng's scalp tingled as he looked at the crowd of people surrounding him. He pushed Venom and Poison Flame to the front, then slipped into the room and locked the door. In the following days, there was nothing for Lin Feng to do. Lin Feng spent a few days quietly in the human gathering place. During this period, a large crowd of people gathered outside the residence every day, all wanting to catch a glimpse of Raymond Lam and express their gratitude to this alien friend who saved humanity. Lin Feng could only pretend to be cool and refuse visitors with the door closed. No one dared to anger this seemingly friendly and powerful alien friend, so they had no choice but to wander outside the door every day, hoping to be lucky enough to meet Raymond Lam. Lin Feng did not leave immediately because the system sound indicating the completion of the task had not yet sounded. He speculated that Venom would complete the mission only after he had recruited all the symbiotes. After all, the Riot has been sent away, and there are only a few symbiotes left in the Riot camp. Things turned out to be exactly as Lin Feng had imagined. Over the course of several days, Venom and Venom Fire traveled around the world, receiving and merging scattered symbiotes. Any symbiotes that are disobedient and refuse to be recruited will be swallowed up directly. Venom's strength is no longer something that they can defeat just by gathering together. For the recruited symbiotes, the human settlement came up with a specific disposal plan, which was definitely similar to what Lin Feng talked about with Hawk at the time. Humanely provide some positions for all symbiotes. They can choose social buildings on their own, or join the army, and after training, they will be assigned to major banks, police chiefs, and other positions. The symbiotes all choose jobs that suit them, and basically no symbiote will resist. Because as long as you work, you will have unlimited supply of chocolate and fresh seafood. As the new leader, Venom will enter the United States parliamentary institutions to seek better development for all mankind. As for Du Yan, basically after the matter is over, he will become Spider-Woman's good neighbor again. A few days later, all the symbiotes were compiled into the files, and Lin Feng finally heard the system notification sound indicating that the mission was completed. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the world mission and successfully eliminating the symbiote camp led by Riot. Rewards for this mission, 20 million reputation points. A perfect symbiote, unconscious. Because the host completed the task in an excellent manner and with excellent results, an additional reward is given, a summoning horn. Lin Feng already knew about the reputation value and the symbiote. The extra reward was due to Lin Feng's amazing move. Originally, Lin Feng should have eliminated most of the symbiotes to complete the system's mission, but Lin Feng did not do so. Instead, he eliminated the Riot and supported a new leader. According to the system, the goal is to eliminate the symbiote camp headed by Riot. Then as long as Riot dies, the remaining symbiotes will belong to Venom, and the mission will naturally be accomplished. Therefore, Blue Star, which was supposed to have only one camp left, unexpectedly integrated two different races due to Lin Feng's operation. The original development direction of the world was changed by Lin Feng and headed towards an unknown path, so the system rewarded him with this special item. Lin Feng looked at the system warehouse and saw an extra small bottle filled with black fluid and a golden horn. There is no need to look at the small bottle, it should be the perfect symbiote as a reward. Lin Feng took out a golden horn, which was about as long as his forearm. It sparkles with golden light in the sun and looks very extraordinary. With a light tap on the horn, the attributes immediately appeared in front of Lin Feng. Summoning Horn, Blue Star version. Blow the horn to summon any character from the Blue Star universe. Maximum number of summons per time, 3 summon cooldown time, 24 hours. Note, the host needs to have the cosmic coordinates to perform the summoning, and the summoned person must agree to it for it to be successful. If refused, the summoning will fail and the cooling time will be reset. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and read the notes twice. Good stuff. Judging from the description, it should be able to summon characters from other worlds to your own world. Definitely, it must be a universe that Raymond Lam has personally visited, or has its coordinates. After pondering for a while, Lin Feng put the golden horn to his lips and blew it gently. The mysterious tone rushed straight into the sky, and the voice of the system rang in Lin Feng's ears. Ding, do you want to summon the DC universe, Kryptonian, KALL? It really works. Lin Feng chose no. He just wanted to test whether the horn could function as he imagined. He didn't expect it to work. It really is a good thing. Lin Feng put the horn back into the system warehouse. 20 million reputation points were successfully obtained. American Samoa well as an unconscious black symbiote. It's time for Lin Feng to leave. However, before leaving, Lin Feng peeled off a small piece of derivative from Venom and Poison Flame respectively. As long as they are attached to a living organism, they will become a new symbiote. If nothing goes wrong, the new symbiote will have more powerful abilities than Toxic Flame and Venom. Human settlements have begun to disband, and with large numbers of symbiotes being put into buildings, social order will soon return to normal. In order to commemorate Lin Feng, friendly citizens actually erected a statue for Lin Feng and placed it in the center of Garcia City. Beside him, there are statues of Venom and Poison Flame. These are all spontaneous actions of the residents, because what Lin Feng and Venom have done have been shown to all residents through pictures. However, Lin Feng no longer knew all this. After getting the derivative body, he had already flown into space and was ready to return. The mission has been completed, and what I wanted has been obtained. There is nothing to wait for. As the fancy shuttle channel opened, Lin Feng stepped in and returned to his own universe. As soon as I returned to the universe, I heard a constant squeaking sound. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. What's going on? When I took it out, I saw the emergency beeper was flashing. Someone is asking Raymond Lam for help. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.